Chapter 8:21. The two of them had activated the power of the mutant blood phoenix, and the power unleashed by them was absolutely earth-shattering. Aside from Ao Nyo, who was somewhat mentally prepared, the divine poison frog, the groundhog, and gluttony were all stunned by the sudden explosion. Dongfang Zhuangshi was even more excited as he rubbed his hands together and heaved a long sigh. Nice! This is what true power looks like. I was right about you. But why does this power feel so familiar? Terrifying crimson flames engulfed the entire blue passageway. Without the power of Pangu, the power of frost was completely unable to keep the destructive power of the flames at bay. A crisp cracking sound erupted. Energy flowed into the core, and the Pangu seal began to crumble. The power of extreme frost had lost its core. It began to slowly die down. The flames were still wreaking havoc. A pair of eyes that seemed to contain the starry sky suddenly appeared where the seal had been shattered, and the crimson flames instantly dissipated with a single glare. Enlin and Su Xiaolan's bodies tensed up upon seeing this. They were extremely familiar with that pair of eyes, as they were the same eyes that had appeared when the heavenly judgment phenomenon had appeared. From what Dongfang Zhuangshi had told them, regardless of whether it was the suppression of the stars, the heavenly judgment, or the reversal, they were all powers of laws left behind by Pangu. It would not be an exaggeration to say that those eyes were Pangu's eyes. The two of them were struck by boundless pressure just by standing there, as if they were facing the entire heaven and earth, and their own powers were minuscule and minuscule. The pair of eyes turned toward Enlin and Su Xiaolan, and in that instant, Enlin's heart seemed to have stopped as fear spread through his entire body. However, the pair of eyes only lingered on Enlin for a few seconds before disappearing. The pressure around them was suddenly lifted, and Enlin and Su Xiaolan both heaved a heavy sigh of relief. They only came to their senses now, and their palms were covered in sweat as they held each other's hands. Ha! This is great. Pangu's seal has finally disappeared. I'm free. The middle-aged man outside the door said excitedly, and the Qilin horn on his head also released a cheerful light. He led Gluttony and the beast to Enlin and Su Xiaolan with an excited expression. Thank you so much. If it weren't for your arrival, I, Dongfang Zhuangshi, would probably still be subjected to endless torture in this mystic realm. I've already said that if you follow me, I can grant you a path to the heavens. Enlin patted his sleeves and casually said. Dongfang Zhuangshi's evaluation of the cultivator before him improved once again. Admittedly, this cultivator's cultivation base wasn't all that high in his eyes. However, his aptitude, his Tao heart, and his demeanor, he was definitely going to become a mighty figure in the future. He faced the door and formed a seal with his hands. Blood-colored energy waves spread outward, boundless and boundless, even causing the heavens and earth to resonate. What are you doing? Enlin asked curiously. Master is going to put away the vast land of blood, the Taotai said. His voice had only just fallen when the floating continent outside began to twist and contract, as if it had been sucked into a peculiar space. It shrank further and further until it completely disappeared. Enlin looked at Dongfang Zhuangshi, upon which he opened his mouth to reveal a crimson bead. He could sense an extremely powerful spatial power emanating from the bead. It could be said that a Qilin holding a bead was taking an entire floating continent with it. Outside the blue gate of light was an empty void. On one end was the starry sky, and on the other was the inky black earth. There were no red stars in this mystic realm. It looks like all of the beast tribe powerful beings in this mystic realm are going to get lost. Enlin sighed with emotion. Without the guidance of the Crimson Star, just the yellow star alone wasn't enough to determine the location of the exit. After all, the exit wasn't on the yellow star. 3 points to determine the location, 2 points to determine the path, and 1 point to determine the location of the exit. Enlin wasn't a saint, so he couldn't care less about the fate of these beasts. Under Dongfang Zhuangshi's guidance, they continued onward within the territory of the infernal divine Bad Emperor. at the center of a massive crater. There was a flashing gate of light above the crimson vortex. This was the exit of the mystic realm. A humanoid creature enshrouded in viscous black mist stood not far away from the exit. 3 returned to Void Stage immortal beasts stood beside it, waiting for the beast tribe powerful beings to return from the mystic realm. The Jade Bone immortal bug was also among them, and its sapphire eyes were fixed on the exit. It knew that when Lin and Su Xiaolan appeared, it would be the time for them to escape. The Divine Bat Emperor's trusted aide, the return of Void Final Stage Nightmare Mudman, was here. Their next mission was going to be extremely dangerous, so they couldn't afford to be careless. Another streak of light flashed past, and a black mammoth with wounds all over its body appeared. The Nightmare Mudman waved a hand through the air, and the viscous black mist materialized into 5 black humanoid monsters, which began to inspect the mammoth's body as well as its spatial tools. Useless trash. The Nightmare Mudman was in a very bad mood. It was clear that this mammoth had also come up empty-handed. The first few batches of beasts could occasionally obtain some mystic realm treasures, which could provide them with some information about the vast land of blood. However, the recent batches of beasts had a high survival rate, but the amount of valuable information they had obtained was extremely limited. I wonder how the Divine Guardian Squad is progressing. The Crimson Star is the biggest mystery, so we can only pin our hopes on them now. The Nightmare Mudman shook its head and sighed. The Divine Guardian Squad, led by the Peerless Saber Demon, was quite reliable. None of the Divine Guardian Squad members had come out yet. Perhaps they were still fighting to obtain the Kirin Blood Jade? Many thoughts flashed through the Nightmare Mudman's mind. At this moment, a sudden turn of events occurred. The blood corruption emanating from within the massive crimson vortex began to slowly diminish, and even the power emanating from it also diminished significantly. What's going on? The Nightmare Mudman stared at the scenes unfolding before its eyes with incredulity, and a sense of foreboding welled up in its heart. Could it be that the passageway to this mystic realm is about to close? No, it had to contact the Divine Bat Emperor. This turn of events was far too sudden for it to handle. The Nightmare Mudman was just about to contact the Divine Bat Emperor when the gate of light nearby changed again. Whoosh, spatial fluctuations erupted again. The Nightmare Mudman turned its gaze toward the gate of light, upon which it saw a figure standing at the front of the group. Its golden fur was shimmering, and it held a pair of snowy white sabers in its hands. The Nightmare Mudman was ecstatic to find that it was the captain of the Divine Guardian Squad, the Peerless Saber Demon. That's great, he's back. Such a reliable groundhog. It would be fine if it didn't come back, but now that it did, it definitely came back with a harvest. Beside, it was the Divine Poison Frog, which was also a member of the Divine Guardian Squad. The Nightmare Mudman was very pleased. The Divine Poison Frog was one of the more active members of the Divine Guardian Squad. It performed very well, and appeared to be quite loyal and reliable. Even though its parents had passed away and it no longer had a home, it was always thinking about going home. This was most likely a sentimental frog. For some reason, the Nightmare Mudman's impression of the Divine Poison Frog was becoming better and better. Perhaps it was because of their triumphant return. The Nightmare Mudman was just about to personally welcome them when it discovered that there were a few figures behind them. They didn't appear to be members of the Divine Guardian Squad. There was a white cow with long fur, and there was a monster with the body of a goat and the face of a human. Why were they so familiar? Soon, the Nightmare Mudman's expression stiffened. It saw 3 humans. No, there was a humanoid being with a crimson Kirin horn on its head. The Nightmare Mudman couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath. Who was that person? Chapter 8:22. The Nightmare Mudman felt like things weren't as simple as they seemed. It was actually unable to see through the Kirin Horn male's cultivation base. One had to realize that it was a return to Void Final Stage immortal beast, to be able to hide from the concentrated probing of its divine sense. One either had a special concealment artifact or had a higher realm than it. Could it be a being from the vast land of blood? Are they friend or foe? The Nightmare Mudman was a little unsure of these strange creatures that had suddenly appeared. If it weren't for the fact that the golden groundhog and the divine poison frog were also there, he would have been in a completely different situation. Peerless saber demon, divine poison frog. What's going on with those other living beings? The nightmare mud man didn't immediately approach them. Instead, it stood on the spot with a cautious expression and tried to understand the situation. The J-Bone Immortal Bug was also a little perplexed at the sight of these people. Why had there been only 2 people when they had entered, and then this was the group that had emerged? Not only did Lin and Su Xiaolan mix with the Divine Guardian Squad, but there was also a strange human and a strange beast with them. Wait, why does that strange beast look so familiar? The J-Bone Immortal Bug body shuddered as it came to a sudden realization. Wasn't this one of the 4F** King ferocious beasts, Gluttony? Neither the Divine Poison Frog nor the Peerless Saber Demon answered the Nightmare Mudman's question. The Peerless Saber Demon had already established a beast pet contract with Dongfang Zhuangshi, so it couldn't betray its master. Meanwhile, the Divine Poison Frog didn't dare to speak out of turn. If it said anything wrong, it would be slapped to death by the demonic Blood Kirin before the Nightmare Mudman could even react. You're not going to say anything? The Nightmare Mudman finally couldn't take it anymore. A terrifying might erupted from his body, and the power of the Nightmare Divine Tao soared into the sky, making the entire sky howl with sinister winds. A myriad of illusory images appeared and blotted out the sky, and they corroded the world to the point it seemed like the end of the world had arrived. This is the Nightmare Mudman's power of the Divine Tao. There's still quite a gap between them and the others, a man with delicate features said lightly. This man who was asking for a beating the moment he opened his mouth was none other than Lin, who had caused the others to die in the Tribulation Transcendence. Sure enough, the Nightmare Mudman instantly exploded upon hearing this. It glared at Lin. A mere soul formation stage, Cultivator dares to boast here? You're courting death. He gripped the air in front of him, and the black power of the divine Tao intertwined like silk threads before transforming into a sharp black spear. Rumble. The terrifying might instantly cause the surrounding void to shatter. This was not only a physical attack, but also a spiritual attack. No matter how strong the enemy's vitality was, they would fall into eternal nightmares and be tortured to death by the nightmares. Peerless Saber Demon, Divine Poison Frog, I'll give you one last chance. If you continue to remain silent, I'll treat you as traitors and kill you as well. The Nightmare Mudman was getting serious now. All of the beast tribe powerful beings around it hurriedly retreated in fear of being struck by the shockwaves of the attack. Only the 3 returned to Void Stage Immortal Beasts continued to stand loyally by its side. The Divine Poison Frog was given a fright by the Nightmare Mudman's display, but its anxiety was alleviated slightly when it turned its attention to Dongfang Zhuangshi. The Nightmare Mudman was very powerful, but the demonic Blood Kirin was even more terrifying. The Kirin had already explained everything to them when they were traversing through the passageway between the 2 worlds. Even though it had been suppressed and tortured by Pangu for a long time and had lost its essential physical body, just the power of its consciousness was still comparable to a mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle Stage. The Nightmare Mudman finally confirmed that something was wrong with the Divine Poison Frog and the Peerless Saber Demon upon seeing this. Dying. The Nightmare Mudman waved a hand through the air, and the Nightmare Divine Tao spear pierced through the air toward Lin and the others with boundless sharpness. The beast tribe was just like that. If they didn't want to talk, then they'd just fight. They'd kill you first, then search your body to see if there was anything good. Dongfang Zhuangshi's brows furrowed slightly as he looked at the oncoming attack. I didn't provoke it, so why is it trying to kill us? Right at this moment, a spatial rift appeared before Lin and the others, and the black dragon leaped out from it. Ha! Master's wife, let's go. Xiaoza, who had received the summons, made a dazzling appearance. Boom! The spear imbued with the power of the Nightmare Divine Tao struck Xiao Zhe's body, upon which an extremely sharp screech erupted. Howl! Xiao Zhe let loose a wail of anguish, and he felt as if his consciousness had been torn apart. His body was propelled toward Lin and the others by the impact of the spear. Dongfang Zhuangshi instinctively swatted the spear aside. Boom! Monstrous crimson power erupted forth. The black dragon, over 10,000 feet in length, was swatted aside like a kite with a broken string. Little Xiao, are you all right? And Lin was given a fright upon seeing this. Everything had happened too quickly, and he had no time to react. Xiaoze was completely dumbstruck. As soon as he leaped out of the spatial rift, he was struck in the waist by a terrifying spear. Then he was sent flying by a terrifyingly powerful slap, and he almost fainted on the spot. In that instant, he thought he had been ambushed. However, he soon discovered that Lin was greeting him as if nothing had happened. Only then did he realize that he had been accidentally wounded by an ally and an enemy. I'm fine. Master, let's get out of here. Xiaoze twisted his injured waist before flying toward Lin. This is a dragon at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage? What powerful defensive prowess! The Nightmare Mudman's expression faltered slightly before turning to Dongfang Zhuangshi with a bewildered expression. It gripped the air before it. Boom! The space within a radius of 5 kilometers was sealed. Hee. But the most pleasant surprise is that I discovered an extremely powerful being. The Nightmare Mudman looked at Dongfang Zhuangshi with excitement, and the viscous black substance all over its body began to boil. That power! There's no mistaking it. Even though it's hard to believe, it's definitely the power of the demonic blood Kirin. My luck is simply too good. I didn't even have to look for it. A faint smile appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face as he looked at the excited Nightmare Mudman. So what made you think that you were lucky to have encountered me? The Nightmare Mudman faltered upon hearing this. So be it. Dongfang Zhuangshi cracked his neck from side to side. I'm a reasonable person. I didn't provoke you, yet you tried to kill me, so I naturally had to retaliate. A crimson energy slowly dissipated from the middle-aged man's Taoist robe. Dongfang Zhuangshi tore at the spatial seal unleashed by the Nightmare Mudman with his hands. Crap! The Nightmare Mudman's expression shifted drastically, and it clapped its hands together. The countless dream projections in the sky crashed down toward the middle-aged man like a raging sea. The dense dream projections descended with boundless might. Fear, despair, and other negative emotions engulfed heaven and earth, corroding all living beings. Some of the beast tribe powerful beings nearby knelt to the ground in fright, while others fell to their knees as if they had gone insane. Some of the weaker ones even had their consciousness shattered and their vitality severed. An earth-shattering red light soared into the sky, piercing a hole through the boundless sea of black shadows before arriving before the Nightmare Mudman at an extremely fast speed. The Nightmare Mudman's eyes widened in shock and horror. Dongfang Zhuangshi remained expressionless, but a crimson vortex over 10 kilometers in radius erupted from his fist as he launched a punch toward the pitch-black, viscous mighty figure before him. The might of this punch sent shockwaves rippling for several dozen kilometers, and countless dream projections were reduced to dust. The Nightmare Mudman's power of the divine Tao was shattered, and its body was flattened into a puddle of black water. It spat out a large mouthful of blood, and its body plummeted to the ground like a cannonball. Boom! A massive crater appeared in the ground. Dongfang Zhuangshi slowly withdrew his fist and stood proudly in midair. Deathly silence ensued. Regardless of whether it was Lin and the others or the beast tribe powerful beings, everyone stared at the scenes unfolding before their eyes with incredulity. The Nightmare Mudman had been severely wounded, and Dongfang Zhuangshi had only launched a single punch. Chapter 823. Cough, cough. The Nightmare Mudman threw up a large mouthful of blood in the crater. It stood up unsteadily, and its flattened body began to expand again under the nourishment of the black viscous substance before slowly taking on a human form. I was too naive. You are very powerful. I am indeed no match for you. The Nightmare Mudman looked up at Dongfang Zhuangshi, who was looking down at it from above, and gritted its teeth. But there's no mistaking the fact that I am very lucky because it suddenly pulled out a jade talisman as a cold smile appeared on its face. That's right. As long as it transmitted this information to the Divine Bat Emperor, the demonic Blood Kirin wouldn't be able to escape from the Divine Bat Emperor. Bam! Space twisted, and the jade talisman was shattered. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes flashed with a crimson light as he unleashed his Kirin-Eye technique. Space twisted. The specialty of this technique was its speed. It was so fast that it caught its target off guard. And then, tragedy struck the Nightmare Mudman. I heard that you think there's no mistaking the fact that you are very lucky. Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke in a cold voice. Nightmare Mudman, hurry! Help me transmit the news of the demonic Blood Kirin's appearance to the Divine Bat Emperor. The Nightmare Mudman roared, and its voice reverberated within a radius of several dozen kilometers. All of the Beast Tribe powerful beings within the range of the Nightmare Mudman could hear its deafening voice. Almost all of the Beast Tribe powerful beings turned toward the being in the sky, and their mouths gaped open in disbelief. Demonic Blood Kirin? This humanoid mighty figure was the fearsome demonic Blood Kirin that had once terrorized the entire sinister spirit beast cesspool. Only such a powerful being would be able to wound the Nightmare Mudman with a single strike. The Flaming Falcon and the Dark Dragon Ape were the first to come to their senses, and they pulled out their voice transmission talismans to try and transmit their voices to the Divine Bat Emperor. However, 2 drops of translucent liquid suddenly shot through the air like 2 divine swords, instantly shattering the voice transmission talismans. The 2 returned to Void Stage immortal beasts were shocked. At this moment, a translucent, round body had already bound the Flaming Falcon and the Dark Dragon Ape before unleashing an extremely terrifying corrosive and paralyzing liquid. J-Bone, are you insane? The Flaming Falcon roared with rage. The being that had attacked was none other than Lin's beast pet, the J-Bone immortal bug. Umph! You scammed me of 100,000 spirit stones. It's time to pay the interest. The J-Bone immortal bug said in an extremely enticing voice. The Flaming Eagle said, Isn't it a matter of mutual consent? I did you a favor. Wait. The Flaming Eagle suddenly came back to its senses. It thought of the 2 minotaurs, then looked at the 2 humans at the exit and thought of a possibility. It was shocked. You're a traitor. Little Goo, well done. And Lin's eyes lit up as he praised. These 2 returned to Void Stage mighty figures were relaying information through voice transmission talismans, so it was really difficult to interrupt them under normal circumstances. However, the J-Bone immortal bug's sudden attack was extremely effective, and it managed to destroy the voice transmission talisman before it could react. Cut the crap and get down to business. The Dark Dragon Ape roared as its muscles bulged, and a dark aura soared into the sky as it attempted to break free from the Jade-Bone immortal bug's bindings. At this time, the hundreds of beastmen in the center of the sinkhole also began to move. They didn't have a direct way to contact the Divine Bat Emperor. After all, there was too much of a disparity between their statuses, so they could only run on foot. However, the tragedy that followed was tragic. Xiao Zhe unleashed a spatial seal on all of the beastmen, and all of them were instantly dumbstruck. Howl! Xiao Zhe let loose an almighty roar, and his dragon's roar shook the heavens. Lightning clouds surged in the sky as bolts of divine lightning crashed down upon the beastmen. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, Ao Nyo, the divine poison frog, and the peerless saber demon also joined the battle. They were determined to wipe out all of these beastmen. As for Gluttony, he pounced toward the 2 return to Void Stage immortal beasts nearby. He didn't want to kill them, but he wanted to hold them off with the Jade-Bone immortal bug so that they wouldn't be able to alert the Divine Bat Emperor. A hint of despair welled up in the Nightmare Mudman's heart upon seeing that all of its forces had been pinned down. Could it be that it was just too unlucky to have encountered the demonic Blood Kirin? All right, I can focus on teaching you now. The middle-aged man clenched his fists with a smile. A chill ran down the Nightmare Mudman's spine, and it unleashed its power of the Divine Tao again without any hesitation as a dark aura instantly engulfed a radius of over 10,000 meters. Summon, Nightmare Ghost Realm. Countless sinister ghosts materialized in the air, and there were tens of thousands of them, all of which pounced toward the man in the sky. You really don't learn from your mistakes. The middle-aged man shook his head, and his body swayed lightly as an extremely dense blood energy enshrouded his entire body. It was as if a crimson light were piercing through heaven and earth, and all of the sinister ghosts in its path were easily pulverized. The Nightmare Mudman also let loose an almighty roar before pouncing toward the crimson light. Its body grew larger and larger until it transformed into a black mudman over 1,000 feet tall. It opened its gargantuan, inky black mouth, from which boundless power to engulf one's consciousness erupted. The gargantuan mouth was like a vortex, and it was as if it was going to completely engulf and pulverize the oncoming man. The middle-aged man didn't do anything fancy. Instead, he unleashed a fist toward the gargantuan mouth. Not only did the demonic blood Kirin possess the power of blood, which represented life, but also possessed the power of slaughter. This fist was imbued with the power of the demonic blood Kirin. It possessed the power to destroy all things and shatter heaven and earth. Bam! For the first time, the Nightmare Mudman felt like its power of the divine Tao was made of paper. Its protective divine Tao shadows were shattered once again, and the gargantuan mouth of the black mudman was also pulverized by the power of the fist. In the end, its gargantuan body also crumbled. The Nightmare Mudman's true body reappeared, and it didn't even have a chance to catch its breath before Dongfang Zhuangshi's fist fell again. Boom! The domineering fist smashed the Nightmare Mudman into the ground again, and the ground tremored violently as another massive crater was smashed into it. Pwah! The Nightmare Mudman threw up another mouthful of blood. Dongfang Zhuangshi continued to charge toward the black shadow. You're not very powerful, but your ability to take a beating is passable. You're a good punching bag. Not very powerful. My ability to take a beating is passable. If any other mighty figure had said this to the Nightmare Mudman, he would have made that mighty figure suffer a fate worse than death. But now, the being who had said this was torturing him, and he didn't even have a chance to retort. Boom! The fist fell again. The Nightmare Mudman resisted with all its might before throwing up another mouthful of blood. However, this wasn't the end. Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed a flurry of punches, and each of his punches was extremely terrifying. Each of them was comparable to the attacks of a mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle stage. The Nightmare Mudman defended as it was repeatedly pummeled, and its body was flattened countless times. Another fist, and another fist. Dongfang Zhuangshi's fist had already become the Nightmare Mudman's nightmare. He felt like he might become allergic to fists in the future. That was if he had a future. The rest of the Spirit Nurturing stage and Soul Formation stage beasts were quickly annihilated by Lin and the others. Then, they saw the Nightmare Mudman, who was being pummeled by Dongfang Zhuangshi. Gasp! Master, is this middle-aged man really the demonic blood Kirin? How did you end up with him? He's so powerful, Xiaozhe exclaimed in shock. We're in cahoots with him. Due to some reason, this middle-aged man can't leave me anymore. He's one of my men from now on, and Lin explained. Xiaozhe was a little dumbstruck upon hearing this. This middle-aged man can't leave Master? This middle-aged man is one of Master's men? He looked at Su Xiaolan beside him and fell into deep thought. Su Xiaolan called him Master's wife. He couldn't call her Master's wife, could he? What should he call her? Chapter 824. Xiaozhe was very perplexed, but at the same time, he was also very impressed by his master. Not only did he take a middle-aged man into his harem, but he was also able to make his harem so harmonious. As the leader of a harem, Su Xiaolan's lack of reaction was proof of this. The gap between Master and I is actually so big. When I was still worrying about the female dragon, he had already crossed over the boundaries of race and gender, extending his claws towards the divine beasts. I still have a lot to learn. Xiaozhe murmured to himself. What are you talking about? And Lin turned toward Xiaozhe. Nothing. Xiaozhe shook his head instinctively. If you have nothing else to do, Then go help Little Goo and Gluttony in case those two immortal beasts get away, and Lin instructed. All right. Xiaozhe leaped into the air and flew toward the battlefield of the four return to void stage immortal beasts. There was basically no need to worry about the Nightmare Mudman. It had been completely crushed by Dongfang Zhuangshi. However, the Flaming Falcon and the Dark Dragon Ape couldn't be ignored. In a battle between return to void stage mighty figures, if one side was determined to escape, then it would be very difficult for the other side to stop them. That was exactly what was happening now. The Dark Dragon Ape was at the return to void intermediate stage, which was more powerful than the Flaming Falcon, which was at the pinnacle of the return to void initial stage. However, the Flaming Falcon had the upper hand in terms of speed. The Flaming Falcon was no longer in the mood to continue battling after seeing the Nightmare Mudman being beaten to the point where it couldn't even take care of itself. It spread its wings and swept up the wind and fire. Its body turned into a streak of golden light and flew into the distance. Gluttony unleashed a relentless barrage of spell techniques, but it was unable to stop the Flaming Falcon. Hee, come and bite me, little sh*t. Don't you know your daddy has a pair of invisible wings? The Flaming Falcon sneered at Gluttony as it fled. It had mastered countless flying and speed-type divine abilities, so it really had nothing to fear from Gluttony. The distance between them would only continue to widen. Gluttony was also aware of this, so the only thing it could do was stall the Flaming Falcon and prevent it from unleashing any spatial teleportation spell techniques. The Flaming Falcon's expression gradually changed after a short while. It felt another aura behind it, as if a storm was brewing. It was mixed with the vast might of a dragon, causing the void to become much heavier. It's you. The Flaming Eagle's feathers stood on end when it saw the newcomer. A black dragon that was 10,000 feet long was flying over at an extremely terrifying speed, and the distance between them was constantly shrinking. Xiaozhe was a primordial dragon tribe cultivator at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage, while the Flaming Falcon was at the pinnacle of the return to void initial stage. In addition, the Dragon Clan's flying speed was also extremely terrifying. They also mastered the secret technique of riding on clouds and mist. With the two superimposed, how could they not catch up to the eagle? Roar! I also have a pair of invisible wings. Don't go, let's fight until dawn. Xiaozhe chuckled. The 10,000-foot-long dragon soared through the thunderclouds, its body like a black bolt of lightning. The Flaming Eagle felt a strong sense of danger. It flapped its wings, and flames spewed out from its back like a tsunami. It roared angrily at the black dragon, hoping to delay the black dragon's advance. However, it didn't expect that the dark dragon didn't resist at all. Instead, it crashed straight into the sea of flames. Had gone mad? The Flaming Eagle was extremely perplexed upon seeing this. That was its full power attack, and it was capable of incinerating space and engulfing the earth. Even a return to void final stage mighty figure wouldn't be able to ignore it. However, it was wrong again. After piercing through the flames, Xiaozhe appeared before the Flaming Eagle completely unscathed. His black scales glowed with a peculiar metallic sheen, and they opened and closed in a domineering manner. How could this be? The Flaming Eagle's feathers stood on end in astonishment. It's neither painful nor itchy. It's my turn now. Xiaozhe chuckled as he looked at the approaching Flaming Eagle, and terrifying lightning began to gather on his dragon horn. Inky black dragon lightning tore through the air, and heaven and earth suddenly fell dark. Boom! An earth-shattering boom erupted, followed by the blood-curdling wail of the Flaming Eagle. The Flaming Eagle began to plummet toward the ground, leaving a trail of flames in its wake, as if it were a falling meteorite. On the other side, a mysterious smile appeared on the face of the dark dragon ape, which was battling the jade bone immortal bug. Hee, stupid C**nt eagle. Do you really think I don't know how to run? It's exactly because I'm wary of that dragon that I chose to battle here. Why don't you understand the saying, the bird that pokes its head out? That dragon is going after you now, and my enemy is only a bug at the pinnacle of the return to void initial stage. I'm a return to void intermediate stage mighty figure. Is this bug really going to stand in my way? What a joke. A smug smile appeared on the dark dragon ape's face as a sense of superiority welled up in its heart. Now was the best time to run. F***CK off. Its fist was enshrouded in the power of the dark dragon, and its power climbed to the very peak as it crashed down upon the jade bone immortal bug. Bam! A dragon's roar reverberated through the air, and the earth within a radius of over a kilometer cracked and pulverized. The fist flattened and twisted the space around it, and the jade bone immortal butterfly was knocked back by the abrupt explosion. The dark dragon ape chortled as it thumped its own chest with a disdainful expression on its face before turning to flee. Oi, are you going to run away after bullying my little goo? A voice suddenly sounded up ahead. The dark dragon ape's heart jolted with shock upon hearing this. There were more enemies? However, it couldn't help but burst into raucous laughter at the sight of the intruders before it. Haha, I was wondering who it was. A soul formation intermediate stage cultivator and a soul formation final stage cultivator dare to stand in my way? Are you here to deliver food to me? The dark dragon ape couldn't even be bothered to look them in the eye as it pounced toward the two humans before it. A soul formation stage cultivator was standing in the way of a return to void stage mighty figure. Had it gone insane? For this kind of idiot who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, it was better to just eat him up in one bite. Why did you drag me here? Can't you do it yourself? You have so many trump cards, Su Xiaolan said with a resigned expression. And Lin silently latched onto Su Xiaolan's hand before shaking his head. No, I want to combine with you. Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes adorably. How childish. Whoosh. The crimson phoenix materialized in midair before combining as one, and the might of a mythological beast erupted forth. The dark dragon ape's pupils contracted as a sense of foreboding welled up in its heart. In the next instant, a terrifying explosion ensued. Boom! The flames of the mutant blood phoenix engulfed heaven and earth like a crimson sun, incinerating everything within a radius of close to 10 kilometers. Ow! The dark dragon ape let loose a wail of anguish as it was blasted into oblivion by the sudden explosion. Its entire body was charred black, and it retreated frantically as waves of shock surged through its heart. How could two soul formation stage cultivators unleash such a terrifying spell technique? This was way too F***king freakish. A return to void intermediate stage immortal beast had been wounded by two soul formation stage cultivators? No one would dare to believe this. Just as it was retreating, the jade bone immortal butterfly had already rushed over to join the battle. Thus, the dark dragon ape's escape plan was thwarted by two soul formation stage cultivators. Chapter 825. The dark dragon ape was struck by a headache at the sight of the jade bone immortal butterfly pouncing toward it. It had no choice but to continue battling the jade bone immortal butterfly as it tried to flee. The jade bone immortal butterfly was prepared this time and did everything possible to keep the dark dragon ape occupied instead of attacking. This made it even more difficult for the dark dragon ape to escape. Damn it, it's all because of those two soul formation stage cultivators. It glared at Enlin and Su Xiaolan with resentment in its eyes. The flames dissipated, and Enlin and Su Xiaolan reappeared. Phew, that technique is very powerful, but it also expends a lot of vital energy. Enlin panted. Su Xiaolan shot a glance at Enlin. If you're done playing around, then hurry up and take care of these enemies. This isn't the kingdom of the 9 states, after all. The dark dragon ape's sense of hearing was extremely sensitive, and it had clearly heard Su Xiaolan's words. A sense of humiliation welled up in its heart as it roared. Take care of me? How dare you? You can't even protect your own lives, and you still want to defeat me? Boom! The power of darkness imbued with brutality and depravity soared into the sky. The projection of a black divine ape that was several thousand meters tall began to appear. It was as if it were a god fiend that stood between heaven and earth, and it opened its mouth to roar at the oncoming jade-bone immortal butterfly, sending it flying back in retreat. Die! The dark dragon ape glared at Enlin and Su Xiaolan, and spatial power erupted forth to congeal the space around them before unleashing a palm strike. Enlin's storage ring flashed, and two shimmering silver figures appeared. Go, Gundam 3, Gundam 4. Let the ignorant dark dragon ape experience despair. He had unleashed both of his trump cards. Whoosh! A white light flashed from Gundam 3's waist, and the particles materialized into a saber of light that tore through the congealed space before charging toward the dark dragon ape. However, Gundam 4 remained rooted to the spot, as if its computer had crashed. Enlin came to his senses and roared. Go! Gundam 3, Yao Ji, kill that dark dragon ape. Bang! The enchantress finally moved. Pink wings of light appeared on her back, and the propulsive energy behind her was pale red, drawing a beautiful trail in the void. Enlin looked at the Gundam in the distance and couldn't help but feel a little stifled. This was the first time he had given in over his name, and he had given into a machine. Gundam 3 took the dark dragon ape's slap head on, and energy exploded forth as Gundam 3 was knocked flying while the dark dragon ape also stumbled back a step. It stared at Gundam 3 with a bewildered expression. In this day and age, even mechanical puppets were this terrifying? Wait, why do these two puppets look so familiar? I seem to have seen them somewhere before. Just as the dark dragon ape was feeling bewildered, Yao Ji was already upon it. Hellblade. The 1,000-meter-tall black divine ape made a grabbing motion with one hand and condensed a blade imbued with the power of the netherworld, which it slashed toward the Yao Ji. Hwah! The black blade swept through the void, destroying everything. The enchantress did not dodge. Instead, it charged straight at the shadow of the black divine ape. Die! The dark dragon ape chuckled coldly as it controlled the Hellblade to descend at an even more fearsome speed. However, just as the blade was about to strike the silver Gundam, a pink light flashed, and the Gundam disappeared on the spot. The Hellblade missed its target. The dark dragon ape faltered slightly before a flash of white light appeared. The Yao Ji had already reached the shadow of the black divine ape, and it slashed down with its pink particle sword. Spatial skipping? This silver mechanical puppet was capable of spatial skipping. The dark dragon ape was a little dumbstruck. Even it was unable to control such a high-level spatial spell technique, but a non-living being was able to do so. What a joke. Whoosh! The shadow of the black divine ape was sliced open by the sword. The Yao Ji charged through the hole in the Gundam and arrived before the dark dragon ape. Countless particles of light flashed in its eyes, indicating that it was calculating at an extremely high speed. The dark dragon ape's claws transformed into sabers as it slashed toward the silver Gundam. The Yao Ji's movements were as fast as a ghost's. The dark dragon ape had only just begun its attack, but it had already unleashed an extremely agile movement technique to evade. The 5 claws flashed past like lightning, and at the same time, she extended her index and middle fingers. Dark Matter Annihilation Cannon, activate. The timing of her attack was extremely precise, and all of her movements had been calculated with the utmost precision. She pointed a finger toward the dark dragon ape's opening. Black energy erupted from her finger, and it was as if matter and antimatter were colliding and annihilating one another as the inky black energy swept through everything in its wake. Boom! Ow! The dark dragon ape let loose a wail of anguish as a massive hole was instantly blasted into its chest by the Yao Ji's 2 fingers, from which blood gushed forth. Enlin and Su Xiaolan were both stunned into silence. Gasp! This Gundam 4 seems to be even more powerful than Gundam 3. Enlin's eyes widened in shock. The Yao Ji's energy core was given to them by Bai Ling, and she said that it was the most advanced energy core ever created by Purple Star Technology. She had only mentioned that the Yao Ji was at the pinnacle of artificial intelligence and possessed self-awareness, but she didn't mention that it was ridiculously powerful. Gundam 3 was already at the pinnacle of the return to void initial stage, So this Yao Ji was clearly on a higher level. It was very likely that it had already reached the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage. This was a pleasant surprise that even Enlin hadn't anticipated. The dark dragon ape was severely wounded again, and it hurtled back in retreat as blood gushed from its mouth. At this moment, the jade bone immortal butterfly sprayed countless lethal poisonous powders through the air, which enshrouded the dark dragon ape. Gundam 3 charged over and unleashed a gravitational halo to restrict the return to void intermediate stage mighty figure. A faint smile appeared on Yao Ji's face as it turned its head to the side and shot a glance at Enlin. Its expression was extremely human-like, as if it were showing off something, or as if it were trying to intimidate Enlin. Enlin was slightly startled by its proud expression. Was this Yao Ji really a Gundam? Isn't this a little too emotional? Yao Ji charged toward the dark dragon ape again, and each and every one of its attacks was extremely powerful, making it extremely difficult for the dark dragon ape to defend itself. Coupled with the cooperation of Gundam 3 and the Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly, the dark dragon ape was finally scared. Only now did it realize that Su Xiaolan's promise to take care of the situation as soon as possible wasn't just a bunch of nonsense. Instead, it was something that she truly had the ability to do. Elsewhere, there were 3 beast tribe powerful beings spectating the battle. Who would have thought that Senior Enlin would have such a terrifying mechanical puppet? It can even pummel a return to void intermediate stage immortal beast. His trump cards are way too astonishing. Ribbit, the frog yelled with glee. Moo, Enlin's abilities are simply unfathomable. I've been ridden by him for so long, but he's always able to shock me. Maybe he'll bring out another 2 of those mechanical puppets, if he's not happy. Aonyo was also quite envious. The peerless saber demon harumphed coldly. Oomph. Do you really think you can bring out such a terrifying mechanical puppet, just because you want to? Don't be so naive. Can you be a little more realistic? However, its voice had only just fallen. They were greeted by the sight of a white light flashing from Enlin's storage ring, and 2 more shiny silver Gundams appeared in the air. Aonyo, Divine Poison Frog, Golden Groundhog. Chapter 826. Crack. The dark dragon ape's life force was severed, and Enlin flew over to it. All of the other beast tribe powerful beings were fine, but the dark dragon ape was given a fright upon discovering that Enlin had 2 more Gundams, and a sense of despair welled up in its heart. A pink particle projection sliced through the air before slicing off one of the dark dragon ape's arms. The silver Gundams required the will of their masters, so if their masters were to die, then they would be ownerless, which would significantly reduce the pressure on them. Their chances of escaping would also increase several-fold. Moo, am I right? Enlin's power is not something we can fathom. He possesses unfathomable power. Aonyo looked at Enlin with even more reverence in its eyes. F*CK. The 2 Gundams before were already extremely ferocious, and now, Enlin had 2 more Gundams? Was he going to get a chance? It was time to land the killing blow. Boom, boom, boom. 4-9 Immortal Sect? Ow! The dark dragon ape unleashed layers of spherical shields. Its aura soared explosively, allowing it to evade Yao Ji's light sword attack and tear through the J-Bone Immortal Butterfly's lethal poison mist formation before sending the oncoming Gundam 3 flying with a single punch. Aonyo and the Divine Poison Frog turned to look at the groundhog. The groundhog lowered its head in silence as it felt a scorching sensation on its cheeks. Su Xiaolan's brows perked up. Do you think you don't have enough enemies? White smoke billowed from the dark dragon ape's mouth. Burp. I'm a return to void intermediate stage immortal beast, but I was defeated by a soul formation stage cultivator. An even more terrifying bolt of dark death dragon lightning answered it. After taking care of everything, he turned toward the other immortal beast. Su Xiaolan was initially quite nervous, but she was relieved to see that it was a bolt of lightning. Sigh, can't you just be a good black ape? Why do you have to be a dragon? Not only do you have to be a dragon, but you also have to use lightning. Enlin shook his head with a calm expression. The dark dragon ape was ecstatic upon seeing this. Ha! This human male must have been scared senseless. The dark dragon ape's mouth fell open. It was unable to accept this bizarre scene. And Lin was stunned for a moment. Lightning that contained the power of death gathered on the dragon's horn. The energy was so terrifying that it caused the void to crack. Because the earth was too close to the lightning, it began to turn dark and gray. It suddenly felt that being ridden by Enlin for the rest of its life wasn't such a bad thing. Perhaps it could use this to reach the pinnacle of its life? Holy shit, why is Gundam 4 so skilled at harvesting kills? Enlin was a little displeased that his kill had been stolen. Humph, in the past, he was always the one who dealt the finishing blow. The golden groundhog felt like this was completely unrealistic. The dark dragon ape had the body of a black ape. The reason why it was called a dragon ape was because it had a pair of dragon horns and the powerful power of dragons within its body. It's fake, right? How could it be like this? However, the dark dragon ape had thought it through before making this decision. As for whether it would be able to kill Enlin, that dark death dragon lightning was its most powerful attack after unleashing its mystic technique. It was comparable to a full-force attack from a mighty figure at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage. Even Yao Ji might not be able to block it. So how could a soul formation stage cultivator block it? I've finally met someone who knows what's good for them. Have you heard of the 4-9 Immortal Sect? Lin asked with a smile. The dark dragon ape was then greeted by the sight of its most prized lightning suddenly hovering in front of Enlin. It was as if time had stopped. Corpse stowed away. It would be useful for tool refinement and pill refinement in the future. In the sky above, Enlin summoned the 2 Gundams, but his objective was not to have them participate in the battle. Whoosh! Roar! Die! A head flew into the air as blood gushed forth. This sudden counterattack was very surprising, as if it had been carried out on impulse. No, there was a place where the puppets could use cultivation realm true intent. As expected of its most powerful attack, the dark death dragon lightning crashed into the dark shields, causing them to explode one after another. It was too surreal. Splat! Boom! The dark death dragon lightning became even darker as the terrifying energy fluctuations emanating from it struck fear into the heart of the dark dragon ape in the distance. The flaming falcon was being ground into the ground by Xiao Zhe as it let loose a string of strange cries. The dark dragon ape became more and more despairing as it fought, and it couldn't help but let loose a torrent of abuse. What kind of puppet was this? It even knew true intent. Gundam 1, Gundam 2, look at how others fight. Learn from Gundam 3 and Gundam 4, and don't be so dumb next time, all right? Enlin patted the Gundam's shoulders as he spoke in a meaningful and heartfelt voice with hope in his eyes. Why didn't they bring out such a bad *SS thing earlier? In the end, the dark death dragon lightning blasted through the dark dragon ape's head right before its eyes. Their ambush was a done deal. Boom! Lightning erupted forth, but its target was not the Gundams and Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly, but rather Enlin, who was standing in the distance. He crooked his finger, and the dark dragon ape's connection with its dragon lightning was suddenly severed. This lightning is quite powerful, so it should be your most powerful attack, right? I'll make it a little more powerful, so you can experience what it's like to be struck by lightning that exceeds the limits of your abilities. It should be very satisfying. A faint smile appeared on Enlin's face as he pointed a finger forward, activating his lightning amplification technique. The dark dragon ape's brows furrowed slightly. This sounded a little familiar, but it couldn't recall where it had come from. However, the dark death energy fluctuations emanating from its body indicated that this was a bolt of true dragon lightning. Yao Ji wielded her light sword and transformed into a peerless sword immortal as she unleashed her peerless sword techniques. Regardless of whether it was the true intent of the sword or the might of the sword, all of them were unfathomably profound. The dark dragon ape's pupils contracted in shock. This is the power of the Purple Star Civilization's Judgment Legion. Who are you people? The dark dragon ape's mouth gaped open with a dumbstruck expression. And Lin had just said that there was no way he was going to bring out a silver mechanical puppet, and he immediately brought out 2 Gundams. Was he trying to slap his face? Roar. A dragon's roar shook the heavens. Su Xiaolan was aware of Enlin's background, and she could only repress her laughter in response to Enlin's attempt to intimidate his enemies. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2. Just as they were speaking, the dark dragon ape's aura swelled explosively again as it unleashed its life force mystic technique. In reality, Enlin was wondering whether it would be cooler to use the vermilion bird mirror or the lightning manipulation technique. Storage ring. Put it away. This was a true spoil of war. Yao Ji appeared in front of the dark dragon ape in a flash, and a pink particle sword extended for several hundred meters before sweeping toward its massive head. That human male was indeed very powerful, but he was only able to unleash a single explosive divine ability, which was why he was able to injure it. In terms of power, how was that human supposed to be able to defend against such a terrifying attack? Enlin was a little disappointed upon seeing its expression. It looks like our 4-9 immortal sect's name isn't renowned enough. Do you think we should leave our 4-9 immortal sect name on the surface of the earth after wreaking havoc? Chapter 827. Xiaoza suppressed the flaming eagle with all his might. He rammed it with his dragon tail and struck it with lightning. Come on, have fun. We have plenty of time anyway. The 10,000 feet long black dragon's attacks rained down on the flaming eagle's body like a torrential storm. The flaming eagle was forced into a corner, and it self-detonated its Tao foundation to send Xiaoza flying. However, gluttony was also a huge problem. It opened its mouth wide, and it swallowed the energy from the flaming eagle's self-detonation, thereby weakening the power of the explosion. The flaming eagle was just about to flee when Xiaoza flew back to it. His shiny dragon scales were neat and sturdy, and he was completely unscathed. Despair. A certain feeling suddenly disappeared at that moment. The flaming eagle saw that the dark dragon ape's head had already flown into the sky. It had been killed by the human cultivator and that strange mechanical puppet. Double despair. It felt as if it could see its future. No, it had to flee, no matter what price it had to pay. The flaming eagle once again used a top-tier mystic technique that expended its Tao foundation, self-detonation. Boom! Flames erupted from the flaming eagle's body, and it was as if a bright sun had suddenly appeared in the sky. Xiaoza was once again blasted away by the terrifying might. This time, even a Taodai couldn't swallow so many flames. He ate until he was full, and his entire stomach became round and bulging. Then, he was sent flying by the explosion of the flames. Chance! The flaming eagle endured its internal injuries and fled into the distance without hesitation. Don't run! Xiaoza was clearly enraged by the explosion. He roared and used cloud-treading mist again to give chase. Burp! Gluttony burped, and a ball of flames burst forth from its mouth. I can't take it anymore. I'm so full. Xiaoza finally caught up to the flaming eagle, and it unleashed another mystic technique, self-detonation. Boom! Xiaoza was blasted flying again. Damn it, is this eagle's zodiac sign explosive? It self-detonates at the slightest provocation. Xiaoza was frustrated, but there was nothing he could do. Before he knew it, he had already left the vicinity of the heavenly pit. If this continued, more and more witnesses would discover them, and they would no longer be able to hide their tracks. Was he forced to retreat? Xiaoza knew the severity of the situation. If he really couldn't catch up, he had to retreat. Otherwise, they would all be dead once the Divine Bat Emperor arrived. Don't stop. Keep chasing. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Xiaoza turned around and saw that the 2 silver Gundams were holding hands, forming a blue spatial halo. Enlin and Su Xiaolan were both inside the circle of light. They kept jumping through space, and their speed was even faster than Xiaoza's. As expected of Master, even his mechanical puppets are so awesome. Xiaoza was excited again, and the entire dragon capital was excited. The blazing eagle had self-destructed multiple times and was already at the end of its tether. Although it had managed to stop Xiaoza from chasing after it, the fact that Xiaoza was completely unharmed really made it want to vomit blood. Not long after, it discovered that Lin and the others were among the pursuers. Don't force me. If you keep chasing me, I'll give you a big one. I'll drag you down with me." The flaming eagle shouted threateningly. "Why don't you die together with me? If I back down, then it's my loss." And Lin chuckled as he looked at the blazing eagle with a disdainful expression. The blazing eagle faltered upon hearing this. It had used its life to threaten Lin, only to be looked down upon by a soul formation stage cultivator. It felt like its dignity as a return to void stage immortal beast had been severely insulted. However, it instantly shriveled up at the thought of the dark dragon ape's fate. That human cultivator was far too freakish. It really couldn't afford to mess with him. Soon, Xiaoza and Lin and the others began to close in on the blazing eagle again. Gundam 3 and Yao Ji unleashed all types of long-range attacks as they gave chase. Xiaoza summoned countless bolts of dragon lightning, which crashed down upon the blazing eagle. What was most terrifying was that Xiaoza's dragon lightning had become a lot more fearsome. It was already an attack at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage, and now that it was further enhanced, the blazing eagle was in complete despair. That's right, this was all because of Lin. And Lin's lightning amplification technique and Xiaoza's lightning techniques were a perfect match. The blazing eagle had no choice but to self-destruct again. Experience the art of explosion. The blazing eagle roared with a fearless expression on its face. And Lin immediately unleashed Want You to Cry and Want You to Poop Upon It. PFFF. The blazing eagle's self-destruction technique was instantly nullified. Instead, its A*S exploded. Boundless sorrow welled up in its heart, and it sobbed as it ran. Well, how could this be? It's so scary. Save me, Mamiwa. And Lin's defensive disregard technique caused the blazing eagle to reveal an opening again. Terrifying divine lightning and energy waves rained down in an instant, engulfing the flaming eagle. It let out a wail of anguish as its body began to plummet toward the ground. The blazing eagle was truly scared now. It originally had a very good chance of successfully escaping from Xiaoza's grasp. However, ever since Lin joined the chase, its situation had taken a drastic turn for the worse. Uncanny, unfathomable. This was the first time it had encountered a soul formation stage cultivator that could strike such despair into its heart. King soul formation stage cultivator. This has to be fake. Countless attacks fell upon it, and it couldn't even unleash its self-destruction mystic technique. The blazing eagle knew that it was really going to die here. If it voluntarily surrendered to that human, it might still have a chance of survival. However, it couldn't do such a thing. Beasts would never be slaves. Rather than live in humiliation, it would rather die a glorious death. I'll show you the meaning of life now. The blazing eagle was bathed in blood, and a boundless golden light erupted from its body. In that instant, its light was even more dazzling than the sun. Explosions are art. Let the world remember this dazzling moment. I will create an eternal moment. The blazing eagle spread its wings and unleashed its final mystic technique. It was a 100% self-destruction technique. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion lit up the entire continent. Boundless flames swept through heaven and earth, incinerating and destroying everything in its path. The land within a radius of several dozen kilometers was transformed into a sea of flames. A gargantuan mushroom cloud appeared. The center of the cloud was extremely dazzling, and the destructive light and heat were boundless. Countless beasts on the sinister spirit beast cesspool turned toward that direction. There, the sun that had appeared due to the explosion was even more dazzling than the sun in the sky. This was an image that would last for eternity in the eyes of countless beasts. On the heavenly beast divine mountain within the divine bat emperor's territory, there was a heavenly beast formation that encompassed a radius of over 50 kilometers. It could defend against the attacks of Tao integration stage mythological beasts at close range, and it could also unleash divine punishment from afar. Its power was terrifying enough to severely wound Tao integration stage mighty figures. At the center of the heavenly beast formation, a gargantuan blue bat opened its eyes, one black and one white, and looked toward a certain direction in the distance. The energy fluctuations are coming from near the heavenly basin. Could it be that something has happened to the vast land of blood? So be it. I'll contact the Nightmare Mudman first. Chapter 828. The gargantuan blue bat was one of the 4 Tao integration stage mythological beasts of the sinister spirit beast cesspool, the Divine Bat Emperor. It was currently stationed at the Heavenly Beast Divine Mountain with the other 3 return to void final stage immortal beasts, and they were using the formation to keep the other 3 mythological beasts at bay. There were energy fluctuations coming from the direction of the vast land of blood. This was clearly a bad sign. It took out its voice transmission talisman to ask the Nightmare Mudman about the situation. He activated the voice transmission amulet, but no one picked up. Strange. The blue bat's eyes narrowed slightly. Those who dared to ignore its voice transmission talisman were either in an extremely urgent situation or dead. He tried to contact the Flaming Falcon, the Dark Dragon Ape, and the Jade-Bone Immortal Butterfly via voice transmission talisman, only to find that there was no response. The 4 returned to void stage mighty figures stationed outside the mystic realm passageway of the vast land of blood were all uncontactable. It also had a way to contact a powerful beast, and that was the captain of the Divine Guardian Squad, the Golden Groundhog's peerless saber demon. The Divine Bat Emperor tried to contact the voice transmission talisman. At this time, in the giant sinkhole thousands of miles away, the Golden Groundhog, the Divine Poison Frog, and Aonyo were still watching Dongfang Zhuangsha ravage the Nightmare Mudman. Right at this moment, the Groundhog's voice transmission talisman suddenly lit up, upon which it was given a massive fright. Holy F***CK, a voice transmission from the Divine Bat Emperor. The Divine Poison Frog and Aonyo also shuddered upon hearing this. The Divine Bat Emperor had been a mighty figure in the sinister spirit beast cesspool for a long time. It was a demonic mighty figure that would swallow the blood of an entire city of living beings at the drop of a hat. Its name was synonymous with terror, and all beast tribes were naturally fearful of it. Croak, could it be that the Divine Bat Emperor has realized something? The Divine Poison Frog trembled with shock. The explosion in the distance probably attracted its attention. Aonyo looked at the slowly extinguishing flames in the distance with lingering fear in its heart. They were also shocked by the terrifying explosion. The apocalyptic flames had left an indelible impression in their hearts. Should I accept it or not? The Golden Groundhog fell into a dilemma. The fact that the voice transmission talismans could communicate with one another meant that the Groundhog had already arrived in the outside world. If the Groundhog didn't accept, then the Divine Bat Emperor would definitely become suspicious. If the Groundhog accepted the call, it would be faced with a series of questions, and that would be a test of its lying skills. Take it, Ribbit, the Divine Poison Frog said. Moo, we'll give you some advice, Aonyo suggested. The Groundhog hesitated momentarily before gritting its teeth and accepting the voice transmission talisman. Hey, Divine Bat Emperor, I'm the peerless saber demon. The Divine Bat Emperor's raspy voice traveled into his ears. Saber demon, you're at the exit of the vast land of blood, right? What happened there? Why can't I contact the Nightmare Mudman, the Jade-Bone Immortal Bug, the Flaming Falcon, and the Dark Dragon Ape? The Groundhog had already prepared an explanation. A human cultivator of the return to void final stage suddenly appeared in the heavenly pit and was discovered by the Nightmare Mudman. They're currently engaged in battle. The Divine Bat Emperor was silent for a long while before speaking. The human race is also interfering in this matter. Could he handle it? Don't let any other living beings enter the vast land of blood. I can handle it. The human almighty beings are about to be chased away. Great Emperor, don't worry. I'm currently guarding the entrance to the vast land of blood, and I won't allow any foreign living beings to enter. The groundhog vowed. Boom, boom, boom. The sounds of energy clashing and explosions erupted in the distance. Dongfang Zhuangshi's hands transformed into Kirin claws that were intertwined with crimson lightning, and he plunged them into the Nightmare Mudman's chest before ripping them apart. Splat! Blood splattered through the air as the Nightmare Mudman's blood-curdling cries erupted into the heavens. The pitch-black, viscous body that had been torn in half flew into the air before combining as one again. Ha ha! I heard you're called the Nightmare Mudman. You might as well change your name to Nightmare Mudman. It's just a pile of mud no matter how I beat it. Dongfang Zhuangshi chortled with glee as his claws tore through the air toward the Nightmare Mudman. The Nightmare Mudman retreated as it roared. Demonic blood Kirin. How dare you kill my tribe's flaming falcon and dart dragon ape? Do you really think the Divine Bat Emperor is going to let this go? The Divine Bat Emperor is nothing. It's just a newly advanced mythological beast. Even if it comes here, I'll still beat the sh*t out of it. Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke with a carefree expression. Regardless of whether it was their battle or their conversation, it was still earth-shattering. Most importantly, the Groundhog and the Divine Bat Emperor were conversing through voice transmission talismans, so the Divine Bat Emperor had heard every single word of their conversation. Groundhog, Divine Bat Emperor, Aonyo, and the Divine Poison Frog, Peerless Saber Demon. The Divine Bat Emperor's voice sounded as if it had come from the depths of hell, sending chills down one's spine. Explain yourself. It's over. It's over. The Groundhog hung up the call without any hesitation. Beep, beep, beep. The voice transmission talisman was cut off. The Divine Bat Emperor stared blankly at the disconnected voice transmission talisman for a few seconds. What was going on? Had it been tricked? It had almost been tricked, no? It had been a long time. How long had it been since a beast had dared to challenge its might boom? On the heavenly beast divine mountain, a blue pillar of light soared into the clouds and shook the heavens. Within the heavenly basin, Master, the Divine Bat Emperor has discovered our presence. We have to run. The Groundhog yelled at the middle-aged man in the sky. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered slightly upon hearing this, but the Nightmare Mudman was ecstatic. Haha, demonic blood Kirin. This is the benefit of having a powerful life force. So what if I can't beat you? As long as I can stall for time until the Divine Bat Emperor gets here, you'll all die. The Nightmare Mudman chortled with glee. The power of the Divine Tao erupted from the Nightmare Mudman's body, and countless dreamy projections enshrouded the sky. A series of inky black chains materialized from the power of the Divine Tao, creating a cage that sealed off the space within a radius of several kilometers. This time, none of you will escape. Outside the heavenly basin, where the flaming falcon had self-detonated, a small heavenly basin had appeared here, and the ground within a radius of several dozen kilometers had caved in. Destructive power, spatial turbulence, and all types of terrifying energy were still wreaking havoc in this place. A white-robed man had a woman in a jade dress in his arms, and two silver Gundams were carrying him. Beside them was a black dragon that was constantly moving about, as well as a half-crippled gluttony and a charred jade bone immortal butterfly. Lin, are you all right? Su Xiaolan shook the man before her. It hurts a little. Let me hug you a little longer. Lin narrowed his eyes in bliss as he held the soft and warm body in his arms. Su Xiaolan boom, and Lin was blasted away by a gargantuan force. Hurry up and get down to business. A faint blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she scolded Lin with a hint of embarrassment. Lin had no choice but to gather his comrades. The flaming falcon's self-detonation was indeed terrifying. At such a close range, a return to void initial stage mighty figure would have been instantly killed. It was a pity that none of Lin's team were pushovers. Xiao's defenses were freakishly powerful, so he wasn't injured. As for the jade bone immortal butterfly, it was quite far away, so it wasn't killed. Gluttony had an engulfment divine ability, so it swallowed a portion of the explosion's power and survived. As for Lin and Su Xiaolan, They were protected by Gundam 3 and Gundam 4's ion-severing barrier of light, so they were completely unscathed. At this moment, his voice transmission talisman lit up, and Lin picked up the voice transmission talisman, upon which Aonyo's urgent voice sounded. Crap! Senior and Lin, the Divine Bat Emperor has already heard about us, and is most likely on its way here. And Lin. Chapter 829. Aonyo's voice was still reverberating through in Lin's voice transmission talisman. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, Gluttony, Xiao Zhe, and everyone else's expressions became extremely grave. After all, this was a Dao integration stage, super mighty figure they were facing. Return to Void final stage mighty figures who had mastered the power of the divine Dao were already extremely troublesome to deal with. Now that a Dao integration stage mythological beast was targeting them, there was no way they could resist. They could only run. Get out of there. We have to leave right now. And Lin urged. Moo, we can't leave. The Nightmare Mudman has sealed off our path of retreat. Aonyo choked with sobs. And Lin, he immediately dialed Dongfang Zhuangshi's voice transmission talisman. To his surprise, the voice transmission talisman was instantly picked up, and Dongfang Zhuangshi's extremely calm voice sounded from the other end. Hello, Mr. Lin, what is it? You've heard about the Divine Bat Emperor, right? Are you guys really trapped now? Lin asked with concern. Hee, it's nothing. It's just the Nightmare Mudman's imagination. Give me a minute. No, half a minute will do. And Lin didn't hang up the voice transmission talisman, and he could hear the sounds of energy clashing from the other end. Ha! Demonic Blood Kieran, just give up and stop struggling. The Nightmare Mudman's voice sounded from the other end of the voice transmission talisman. Aside from that, bewitching and deranged cries could also be heard, even through the voice transmission talisman, and Lin and the others still felt their minds ripple slightly. Within the heavenly basin, an inky black, dreamy projection obscured the entire sky. The Nightmare Mudman's body was torn apart by Dongfang Zhuangshi again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The torn body fused back together like mud. Blood trickled from the corners of the Nightmare Mudman's mouth, and its aura was extremely feeble, but there was a triumphant smile on its face. So what if you can wound me 10,000 times? I'll be severely wounded, but you won't be able to kill me before the Divine Bat Emperor arrives. Do you know what life is? My life force is not something you can imagine. Even though the Nightmare Mudman had been thrashed countless times, for some reason, it still felt a sense of superiority, as if being able to take a beating was an honor. Actually, it couldn't be blamed. After all, this was the only thing it could do. Dongfang Zhuangshi couldn't help but burst into laughter upon hearing the Nightmare Mudman's words. Do you think I don't understand life? Have you forgotten how I got my title of Demonic Blood Kieran? A sense of extreme danger welled up in the Nightmare Mudman's heart. It turned its gaze toward Dongfang Zhuangshi's Kieran claws, and for some reason, its heart trembled. There was still its blood on the Kylan's claw. The blood slowly turned black and twisted. Then, it disintegrated into super tiny particles that even the divine soul could not capture. The Nightmare Mudman's pupils constricted. What a terrifying power of death. Thump! At this moment, its heart suddenly beat violently. The Nightmare Mudman's expression changed drastically, and it began to retreat frantically. It's no use. When I tore your body apart with my Kieran claws, I had already injected my demonic blood into your body. A bloodthirsty smile appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. A heart-wrenching pain suddenly spread throughout his body. The Nightmare Mudman's life began to crumble from the inside. Not only its body and meridians, but even its sea of vital energy and consciousness also began to deteriorate and crumble. Dongfang Zhuangshi stood on the spot and completely ignored the fleeing Nightmare Mudman. A cruel smile appeared on his face. I don't understand life. I once used my own blood to create a demonic blood beast tribe army. Do you think I don't understand life? I once used a drop of demonic blood to poison an entire city to death. I also used a rain of blood to deprive an entire tribe of life. Thus, I obtained the title of Demonic Blood Kieran. Do you think I don't understand life? The nightmare mudman's body continued to crumble, but it was completely unable to stop this power from wreaking havoc. This was a power that completely eradicated all life. No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. The nightmare mudman roared in despair as it looked at Dongfang Zhuangshi with increasing horror in its eyes. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty red light as he admired the nightmare mudman's crumbling body. An extremely joyful and demonic cackle erupted from his mouth. He experienced the joy of death. This will be the moment when you experience life the most. The groundhog, Aonyo, and the divine poison frog all stared at Dongfang Zhuangshi in the sky with dumbstruck expressions. At this moment, he didn't appear to be a cultured person at all. He was a demon of destruction in human skin, and this was most likely Dongfang Zhuangshi's true appearance. Following a shrill wail, the nightmare mudman's life was finally extinguished. The power of the divine Tao dissipated, and the cage crumbled. Heavenly light shone down upon the world again. Never would the nightmare mudman have thought that the cage it had expended so much energy to construct would be completely useless. This was because Dongfang Zhuangshi's choice was to kill it before swaggering away. Dongfang Zhuangshi picked up the voice transmission talisman with an unsatisfied expression. It's done. I'm coming over to your place now. Outside the heavenly pit, and Lin held the voice transmission talisman with a speechless expression. Even though he hadn't witnessed the battle in person, he could tell from the voice transmission that it had been an intense battle. Oh no, it was an intense battle for the Nightmare Mudman, but it was a joyous battle for Dongfang Zhuangshi. He could already envision the middle-aged man's demonic and joyous smile through his laughter. The image was extremely beautiful. After silently calculating the time, it really did seem like less than a minute had passed. Dongfang Zhuangshi took the Nightmare Mudman's storage ring as his spoils of war. Then, he teleported toward Lin and the others with the groundhog, Aonyo, and the divine poison frog. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, and the others waited where they were. And Lin pulled out spirit stones one after another and fed them to Gundam 3 and Gundam 4 to replenish their energy. Gundam 3 and Gundam 4 were extremely powerful, and their appetites were even more so. They devoured tens of thousands of spirit stones from Lin in one go. Kacha, a spatial rift opened, and Dongfang Zhuangshi arrived before Lin with the three beasts. Looks like we did quite well. We wiped out all of our enemies. Dongfang Zhuangshi looked at the spectacular crater with satisfaction. Don't be so happy. Hurry up and get us out of here. And Lin urged anxiously. Dongfang Zhuangshi was no match for the Divine Bat Emperor at his current strength. If they were captured, they would all be screwed. Everyone had discussed this prior to exiting the Mystic Realm. With the Nightmare Mudman's power, it would definitely discover Dongfang Zhuangshi and the others, and it would definitely contact the Divine Bat Emperor. Hence, the only thing Lin and the others could do was either run away as soon as they exited the Mystic Realm or kill all of their enemies before running away. The former risked being held back by the Nightmare Mudman and being pursued by the Divine Bat Emperor. The latter was quite difficult, but if they succeeded, the risk would be much lower. They had Dongfang Zhuangshi with them, so they were very confident and chose to kill all of their enemies first. In reality, they really did succeed. Unfortunately, they had three useless teammates who picked up their voice transmission talisman. Dongfang Zhuangshi took Lin and the others with him and used spatial skipping to leave this place. He could unleash his power at the return to Void Pinnacle stage now, which was more than enough for them to run away. 2 minutes later, a gargantuan rift appeared in the heavenly crater. The Divine Bat Emperor descended into this world with three return to Void Final Stage mighty figures behind it. It looked at the massive crater and the crimson vortex passageway that was about to close, and its body trembled with rage. They're all dead, and the demonic blood Kirin has also escaped. Boom! At this moment, the sky darkened, as if it were imbued with boundless rage. They can't have gotten far. Inform all of the immortal beasts to lock down the beast cesspool and activate the heavenly eye formation. Find them no matter what price you have to pay. The divine bat emperor's voice was like thunder, and it was clearly on the verge of erupting into rage. Yes, the three immortal beasts contacted all of the other immortal beasts. Heavenly eye formation, activate. Chapter 830. Dongfang Zhuangshi enshrouded everyone in a crimson light barrier before performing a high-speed spatial jump. Amidst the chaos, his hand involuntarily reached toward Enlin's chest. Enlin turned to the middle-aged man with shock on his face. "What are you doing?" "Su Xiaolan." Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. "Are you sure you can't summon the little golden person wearing my blood jade? Even though I can recover my power by staying close to you, I'll recover even faster if you summon it." And Lin's lips twitched. "I really can't. I can't control that little brat." A disappointed expression appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. "Also, you can talk next time, but don't touch my chest." And Lin spoke with a serious expression. "What?" Dongfang Zhuangshi blinked. And Lin's body trembled with rage. "Don't you think it's weird for two men to do something like this? But I'm not a human. My true form is that of a Kirin. Perhaps your golden baby is wearing my blood jade as a set of clothes, so I feel a natural sense of intimacy toward you. I even wanted to lick you just then." Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke with a nonchalant expression, and Lin shuddered again, and he silently distanced himself from Dongfang Zhuangshi. "Get away from me." He was almost licked by this middle-aged man. Just the thought of it sent chills running down his spine. Su Xiaolan also shifted her position to stand between Enlin and Dongfang Zhuangshi. The scene of Dongfang Zhuangshi touching Enlin had given her a fright as well. She had to prevent that from happening again. Speaking of Kirin, it seemed like his battle with the white vermilion bird was about to begin. And Kirin's confidence was greatly boosted by the addition of a red short-sleeved shirt and a pair of shorts. It was time to avenge the holy flame vermilion bird and rub it against his sea of vital energy. He stood on the whale's head, and his aura exploded forth, sending shockwaves surging through the air. The flaming vermilion bird in the sky seemed to have sensed something. It turned toward Kirin with a disdainful expression, as if it didn't take Lin seriously at all. Boom! Bolts of golden void lightning erupted from Kirin's body before crashing toward the vermilion bird. The vermilion bird let loose a clear cry as it flapped its wings toward the lightning, and holy flames surged toward Kirin like a tidal wave. The golden void lightning exploded upon the holy flames, but it was unable to penetrate the waves of holy flames. White lightning erupted from Kirin's cloak as a terrifying sword intent engulfed his sea of vital energy. He took a step forward and soared into the air. White lightning coiled around his body and condensed into a sky-piercing lightning sword. He was the sword, and the sword was him. At this moment, Kirin had become one with his sword. The white lightning divine sword was imbued with boundless sharpness, and it sliced the wave of holy vermilion flames in half with unstoppable might. The vermilion bird was not to be trifled with. Golden ripples erupted from its eyes. Countless golden rings of flames condensed behind it like a peacock spreading its tail. Then, a terrifying force field erupted from the ring, stacking upon one another in a boundless manner before crashing down upon Kirin. Kirin's peerlessly sharp sword intent abruptly faltered, and his speed became slower and slower. The body of the sword also began to tremble lightly, as if it were about to crumble at any moment. A mocking expression appeared on the vermilion bird's face as it raised its proud head, as if to say, "Your grandpa is still your grandpa." Wah! And Kirin let loose a loud cry as a terrifying red light burst forth from his short-sleeved shirt and shorts. The power of blood extended toward the white lightning divine sword before adhering to the blade of the sword, making it appear as if the heavenly sword of frost and snow had been stained with blood. Its power instantly soared, and its sharpness was also enhanced. Whoosh! The celestial sword accelerated again. This time, even the powerful force field was unable to keep the lightning sword at bay. The white flame vermilion bird's pupils contracted, and it flapped its wings in an attempt to evade the sword. However, the sword was simply too fast, and it had no time to evade before its body was sliced in half. The vermilion bird's blood-curdling wail reverberated throughout its sea of vital energy as its body dissipated into white, holy flames. This was the first time it had lost to Enchantment. When the vermilion bird's body materialized again, it was unwilling to concede defeat and engaged in another battle with Enchantment. In the end, it lost again. Holy flames materialized again, and it continued to battle. Then it lost again. Again and again, it lost again and again. In the end, the holy flame vermilion bird was beaten into submission. And Kieran was also having a good time, and he roared with laughter as he led the whale around in his sea of vital energy, occasionally pointing his middle finger at the vermilion bird in the sky. The vermilion bird didn't dare to respond. It was truly terrified. It was also at this moment that Enlin's body suddenly experienced a sensation. He pointed a finger into the air, and a white holy flame appeared on the tip of his finger. The white holy flame burned with pure holy might. Su Xiaolan was astonished upon seeing this. Enlin, you can also use holy flames? Yeah, I'm awesome, aren't I? Enlin replied with a smug expression. In the past, he had only been able to use the power of the white flame vermilion bird from time to time. However, ever since the vermilion bird was beaten into submission by Kieran, he seemed to be able to use this power at will. As expected of his lucky star, and Kieran was truly a blessing. Speaking of which, following the progression of his cultivation base, there were also many updates to the system's missions. For example, Enlin now had a chance to learn techniques. Intermediate rank God of War Cannon Technique. God of War Heaven Blasting Cannon. Condition: make 10 mighty figures of the return to Void Stage or above like you, and make 10 mighty figures of the return to Void Stage or above hate you. Just look at the name of this technique. It's clearly going to explode the heavens. The Heaven Blasting Cannon could even blast the heavens, so what else couldn't it blast? I, and Riqian, am definitely going to learn this technique. The conditions were also very interesting. Not only did it attract fans, but it also attracted hatred. How special. There was also a mission completion notification under the system. Make 10 mighty figures of the return to Void Stage or above like you, excluding servants. Based on brainwaves, divine sense fluctuations, and the system's calculations, current mission progress is July 10th. Ishi, Lin Junjun, Yin Hua, Xiao Zhe, Tina, J Bona Mortal Butterfly, Dongfang Zhuangshi, and Lin, my God. Did I just expose something incredible? And Lin stared at the system as waves of shock surged through his heart. No, this should be the kind of between friends. It meant that they had a favorable impression of him and didn't hate him. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. That must be it. At this moment, a pair of warm hands suddenly patted Enlin's shoulder. Enlin turned around to find Dongfang Zhuangshi looking at him with a smile on his face. Ah! Enlin yelled in fright and slapped the middle-aged man's hand away. F***ck off. He yelled angrily. Dongfang Zhuangshi was dumbstruck, and everyone else also stared at Enlin in surprise. Why was Enlin's reaction so exaggerated after being patted on the shoulder? Su Xiaolan blinked with a thoughtful expression. Ahem, I'm not feeling well right now, and I'm allergic to any kind of touch. Aside from Xiaolan, no one is allowed to touch me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude, Enlin said with a serious expression. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Su Xiaolan, all the onlookers, so you're not allowed to touch anyone aside from Xiaolan? That's very hurtful of you. Enlin couldn't be bothered with them and turned his attention back to the system. Speaking of which, Yin Hua seems to be the palace leader of the Holy Palace of Snow Maidens, right? She likes me too? Speaking of which, could it be that she developed a favorable impression of me because I coincidentally saved her a few times in the ancient Taichu realm? I can't let Su Xiaolan know about this. Enlin then turned his attention back to the make 10 mighty figures at the return to Void Stage or above hate you. In that case, which almighty figure hated him so much? Chapter 831. Make 10 mighty figures at the return to void stage or above hate you sad face according to brainwaves, divine sense fluctuations, and the system's calculations. Current mission progress is 6/10. Lin Junjun, Yan Hua, Meng Ji, Emperor Zuwei, Lu Mingxian, Zhu Shan, and Lin was completely dumbstruck upon seeing this list. There were simply too many things to complain about, and he didn't even know where to start. Especially Lin Junjun and Yan Hua, who had made it onto the list twice. They had truly made outstanding contributions to Lin's mission. Could this be the legendary love-hate relationship? Lu Mingxian and Zhu Shan, this couple from the Heavenly Sword sect. Thanks. Also, it was understandable that High Priestess Meng Ji hated him. After all, he was the one who had taken back the Holy Vermilion Flame and ruined the Snow Maiden's plan. Furthermore, he had even torn the beautiful High Priestess clothes during the battle, so it was understandable for Meng Ji to hate him. However, who could tell him that Emperor Ziwei hated him? What the hell was going on? And Lin's chest constricted. So, Emperor Ziwei really did hate him. Could it be that Emperor Ziwei still couldn't forget the day of the tower quake? And Lin was extremely depressed. As expected, he couldn't rely on his inheritance anymore. Also, this mission of make 10 mighty figures at the return to void stage or above hate you probably only counted toward the mighty figures who had come into direct contact with him. Otherwise, there was no way that Emperor Yi Deng and the Divine Bat Emperor would have missed this mission. Sigh, who would have thought that I would be so popular? There are less than 10 return to void stage mighty figures who hate me. And Lin shook his head with disappointment. Su Xiaolan's lips twitched upon hearing this, and she placed a hand on Lin's forehead. You're not having a fever. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Xiaolan, I'm starting to regret this. I should have left my name in that heavenly pit. No, I should have left my photo behind. And Lin spoke with a solemn expression. Su Xiaolan, she thought for a moment and finally said in a gentle voice, And Lin, don't put too much pressure on yourself. If there's anything, we'll deal with it together. If there's any problem, we'll deal with it together. Don't think about all these useless things. It's not good if you become stupid. Seeing Su Xiaolan's concerned and distressed expression, and Lin couldn't help but burst into laughter. All right, Su Xiaolan, I'm fine. However, there's a technique that requires the aggro of a return to void stage mighty figure. Su Xiaolan, why do you have to complete this weird quest again? Isn't this quest asking you to die? And Lin thought to himself, is there any mission that doesn't seek death? He turned his gaze back to the system helplessly. The realm column had also been updated. This was a leap in a major realm, and the conditions were a little harsh. Return to void stage. Condition: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, yin, yang. All 9 elemental cultivation methods must be cultivated to stage 1 or above. Obtain a divine tool and divine pill of your own. Consume the divine tool and divine pill to break through. And Lin sighed with emotion upon seeing this quest. Others only had the right to equip divine equipment after reaching a certain cultivation base, but he didn't have the right to reach that cultivation base without divine equipment. Divine tools and divine pills were very difficult to obtain, but at least he had something to look forward to. Cultivation techniques were actually the most difficult. He currently had 9 elemental cultivation techniques, but he had only cultivated 6 of them. They were the wind element's wind spirit technique, the lightning element's lightning essence technique, the wood element's evergreen technique, the fire element's wings of true fire, the earth element's earth lotus supreme technique, and the water element's divine liquid creation technique. He didn't cultivate any of the 3 elemental cultivation methods. Speaking of which, the metal element mission had already been issued, but Lin still hadn't completed it. That mission was Stage 1 Divine Weapon Origin Energy, Condition: Nurture a Weapon Spirit. Lin had originally placed his hopes in the evil slaying sword, but the proud sword spirit refused to nurture a spirit no matter what. He was quite exasperated about this. There was actually an opportunity to cultivate Yin-type cultivation methods. When he encountered the sexy and beautiful zombie goddess, the system issued a mission for him to kiss her. At that time, Lin who was full of moral integrity, had pounced on the zombie goddess and was just about to kiss her, but he had stopped halfway. His willpower was worse than that of a beast. And Lin heaved a resigned sigh. His path to the return to void stage was a long and arduous one. He couldn't rush his cultivation methods, but he did have some hope of obtaining a divine tool and divine pill. All he had to do was work hard to earn money. He would probably have to earn a few 100 million spirit stones first, and he would also need extremely powerful connections. After all, divine tools weren't something that could be obtained with money alone. Even some Tao integration stage, super mighty figures might not be able to obtain a divine tool, let alone return to void stage mighty figures. And Lin set his cultivation base aside for now and turned his attention back to the vast expanse of chaos around him. Dongfang Zhuangshi was still leading everyone through spatial teleportation. After a short while, his expression became extremely grave. We're in trouble. We seem to have been locked onto by some kind of power. Everyone's expression shifted upon hearing this. We can still be detected after entering a spatial passageway. And Lin was astonished. They've activated a very special power that can create unique ripples within a certain range of chaotic space. The ripples we create through spatial teleportation will be detected by them, as if they've left behind our footprints, Dongfang Zhuangshi said in a grave voice. Is there no way to evade the detection of those ripples? Su Xiaolan asked. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. That power is very powerful. It's most likely the legendary heavenly eye spell formation of the sinister spirit beast cesspool. It encompasses the entire sinister spirit beast cesspool, and with my current power level, there's no way I can evade its detection. Heavenly eye spell formation? This name sounded really cool, and Lin also became quite nervous upon hearing this. The golden groundhog's face paled even more upon hearing this name. The heavenly eye spell formation expends an extremely large amount of energy to activate. It can lock onto the location of almighty figures that are undergoing spatial teleportation. Not only that, but if we don't undergo spatial teleportation and appear directly in this world, then the accuracy of our location will be even higher. And Lin's plan to split up was immediately abandoned upon hearing this. This was the F*King surveillance satellite of the cultivation world. Furthermore, it was the type that could detect every single individual, and even spatial teleportation wouldn't be able to evade its detection. The divine poison frog trembled uncontrollably. It looks like the divine Bad Emperor is determined to find us at all costs. A rare grave expression appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. The divine Bad Emperor has most likely already caught up to us. If we continue along our original path, it's very likely that we'll be caught. We have to get out of the range of the heavenly eye as quickly as possible. We're currently in the southern part of the sinister spirit beast cesspool. We have to head east in order to evade the detection of the heavenly eye before the divine Bad Emperor catches up to us. Dongfang Zhuangshi said. Head east? Lin blinked, and a map of the Tai Chu continent appeared in his mind. To the north of the Kingdom of the Nine States was the Holy Glacial Lands. To the west of the Holy Glacial Lands was the Opposite Shore Realm, and to the west of the Opposite Shore Realm was the sinister spirit beast cesspool, which meant that they were going to the Opposite Shore Realm. Chapter 832. After realizing this, everyone's expression became a little ugly. A disdainful expression appeared on Su Xiaolan's pretty face. If there was a poll of the places that living beings didn't want to go to, the Opposite Shore Realm would definitely rank in the top 3. It wasn't that that place was disgusting or disgusting. It was that they just didn't want to go there. The living beings in the Opposite Shore Realm were all very abnormal. They weren't like living beings, and it was easy for them to become abnormal if they stayed there for too long. Mental illnesses were contagious. Furthermore, there were indeed many dead beings in that place, and it was quite uncomfortable to look at. Those who were timid would easily be scared to the point of going insane. Aside from that, the laws of heaven and earth there were also very special. The space there was blessed by the heavenly Tao, and it was one entity, making it impossible for mighty figures to use spatial power. The sun couldn't shine through the sky there, and it was always nighttime. The closer one was to death, the more power they would receive. The more vigorous one's life force was, the more their power would be suppressed by heaven and earth. It was exactly because of this that many living beings in the opposite shore realm cultivated in the Tao of the dead or ghosts, and it was all too common there, and Lin and the others didn't like the opposite shore realm, but they had no choice but to go there. Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed all of his power and accelerated relentlessly. Finally, after 15 minutes, they safely arrived at the border of the opposite shore realm. They couldn't use spatial power here anymore, and Dongfang Zhuangshi was also completely exhausted. Xiao Zhe transformed into a black dragon over 10,000 feet in length and continued onward with everyone on his back. Is this the opposite shore realm? It looks so beautiful. Lin was astonished. That's right, the first impression that this place gave off was that it was beautiful. The sky was already a murky gray, and as they traveled deeper and deeper into the opposite shore realm, it became an inky black night sky. As if to make up for the monotony of the sky, the land of the opposite shore realm was exceptionally beautiful. The colorful land exuded a gentle glow, as if it had been draped in beautiful silk. All types of extremely intricate or seductive plants bloomed on the land. Some of them glowed, while others danced in the wind. Lin's horizons were greatly broadened. Which direction should we go now? Xiao Zhe asked. Dongfang Zhuangshi stroked his chin. The Divine Bat Emperor has definitely chased us to the opposite shore realm. Moreover, it might have already contacted the Tao integration stage super mighty figures of the opposite shore realm to hunt us down. The border toward the Kingdom of the Nine States should already be under lockdown. So let's go gather some materials first. I've refined a type of medicinal pill that can conceal our auras to the greatest extent. It was good to have a reliable senior here. He even knew how to refine pills. There's a renowned pill city in the opposite shore realm 1,000 kilometers to the east, the Jade Bone Immortal Bug suddenly said. We can go there to gather materials. And Lin was pleasantly surprised. Little Goo, you've been to the opposite shore realm before. Of course, I'm very familiar with this place. The Permitha butterfly and the Permitha flower. The flowers bloom and the leaves fall, never to be seen again. To comprehend the karma realm of life and death, this place is the first choice. I attained the power of butterfly transformation in the opposite shore realm. The Jade Bone Immortal Bug shook its head with a smug expression. Now that they even had a tour guide, everyone was like fish in water in the opposite shore realm. As for the pursuit of Tao integration stage super mighty figures, the opposite shore realm was so vast, and they didn't have the Heavenly Eye spell formation. It was already good enough that they could set up defenses at the border, so how could they find them so easily? The two sides would just have to compete in patience and tactics. Let's see who gives up first. It only took a quarter of an hour to cover a distance of 2,000 kilometers. They landed on the outskirts of Pill City. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, and Dongfang Zhuangshi all put on tighter clothes. Xiao Zhe transformed into a human youth. After all, they had to evade the Divine Bat Emperor's pursuit, so it was better for them to keep a low profile. The Jade Bone Immortal Bug also transformed into a small butterfly and landed on Lin's shoulder. Aon Yo, the frog, the groundhog, and Gluttony also transformed into miniature beasts and followed behind everyone like pets. Apart from Gluttony, who was a little ugly, all of the other beasts were quite adorable. Pill City hovered in the air, and a spatial restriction spell formation was activated within a radius of several hundred kilometers. And Lin and the others walked up the stairs and soon arrived before an extremely grand gate. There were two pitch-black, three-headed hounds over 100 feet tall standing on either side of the gate. Their crimson eyes glowed with a dangerous light. They were known as the Hellhounds, and they possessed extremely powerful scouting abilities. The Hellhounds were responsible for guarding the gate, and every living being that entered the gate had to be inspected by them. There were already many living beings waiting in line to enter Pill City. You don't have the right to enter. A deep voice suddenly sounded. The expression of the serpentine person holding the yellow entry card shifted, and he was just about to flee when the hellhounds were even faster. They appeared before the serpentine person in the blink of an eye and opened their massive, blood-stained maws before biting down on the serpentine person's body. Ah! The serpentine person howled in anguish. No one paid any attention to him, and all of them looked on in silence. The serpentine person's body was torn apart by the hellhounds before it was swallowed whole. And Lin was shocked. If he didn't have the right to enter, then he couldn't even leave? What kind of F***ing rule was this? However, he wasn't afraid of the two hellhounds. They were only at the soul formation intermediate stage, so he could kill them with a single punch. Soon, it was in Lin and the others' turn. He pulled out the black entry card that the Jade Bone Immortal Bug had given to him in advance. A red light flashed in the eyes of the two hellhounds, and they instantly lowered their heads with respectful expressions. "Welcome, my lord." And Lin replied in a low voice before walking at the front with a calm and collected expression. Su Xiaolan, Xiao Zhe, and the others silently followed behind him. The opposite shore realm living beings that were accustomed to silence gazed at Lin and the others with expressions of shock and admiration. They couldn't help but discuss among themselves, clearly curious about this group of mighty figures. Lin sighed with emotion. It looked like Little Gu was doing quite well in the opposite shore realm. After passing through the gate, there was a path that led to the main city. This path was formed from energy of different colors, and it was like a rainbow path. It was gorgeous and dreamy, and it led directly to the floating Pill City. And Lin held on to Su Xiaolan's hand as they continued onward. Their footsteps on the rainbow path were soft, as if they were stepping on a sponge. Gluttony's appetite was greatly whetted upon seeing this bridge, and it licked its lips. The energy contained within the rainbow path made it extremely excited, and it was just about to bite down when Dongfang Zhuangshi lifted it up. "Keep a low profile, don't eat everything," the middle-aged man chided. Gluttony pouted, and Lin couldn't appreciate the pouting of a human-faced, goat-bodied monster. However, Dongfang Zhuangshi's heart softened, and he said, "I'll allow you to have a bite before we leave." Gluttony smiled happily. Everyone quickly passed through the rainbow path and arrived at the renowned city of the opposite shore realm, Pill City. This was an extremely extravagant city. The bricks and stones paved on the ground were all top-grade spirit jade, and there was a vital stone embedded in every large street lamp that could not only emit light, but also provide rich vital energy. Buildings that were as soft as jelly and inlaid with gems were situated on the ground. In the city plaza, there was a musical fountain constructed from flaming liquid and extremely glacial liquid. All kinds of dreamy patterns weaved in the air, and the pitch-black night sky was no longer lonely and desolate. Countless living beings danced and sang joyfully, and it was an extremely lively scene. And Lin felt like his first impression of this city could be summed up in a few words. It was dazzling and dazzling. Chapter 833. Everyone strolled around Pill City and looked at all the living beings around them. The living beings of the opposite shore realm were even more exaggerated than the sinister spirit beast cesspool. There were all kinds of strange and bizarre forms. A green ball that looked like jelly was pulling a black hedgehog-like monster while yelling, "Papa!" And Lin didn't know why the black hedgehog monster could give birth to a green ball jelly monster. Perhaps their reproduction and development methods were rather special. Speaking of jelly, it seemed like the living beings of the opposite shore realm all liked this style. He pinched the golden house beside him. It was also soft and smooth, and there seemed to be a peculiar fragrance emanating from it. He really wanted to take a bite. Gluttony couldn't hold back anymore and kept yelling that it wanted to eat the house. Of course, Dongfang Zhuangshi stopped it in time. They walked toward the center of Pill City and didn't make many stops along the way. And Lin walked along the bustling streets and looked at all the living beings, as well as all kinds of peculiar and dreamlike objects. His horizons were greatly broadened. If the entire opposite shore realm was like this, then it didn't look as bad as the rumors made it out to be. The food here was all very abstract. There were all kinds of energy balls of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple. There were all kinds of colors and elements, and apparently they were extremely easy to absorb. And Lin spent 2 spirit stones to buy a food called Dream Rose. It was a blue ball of energy with a tinge of red in it. It looked like a bun. The blue was the flower part of the bun, and the red was like a blooming rose in the center of the blue ball of light. And Lin swallowed the entire Dream Rose. The way to eat here was to swallow it in one gulp. A refreshing feeling instantly filled his entire body. Then the core began to be digested, and a warm current blossomed like a rose. His body became sweet and limp, and even his consciousness became comfortable. What a peculiar taste. No, it was a very peculiar feeling. The taste of this food was enough to affect his entire body and even nourish his consciousness. The balls of energy were very delicious, and Lin's interest was piqued. He bought many more of these types of food and packed them into his storage ring. He didn't lack money anyway. These were all specialties of the opposite shore realm. It would be a good idea to bring some back for to buy and the others to try. Su Xiaolan was also very happy shopping, but not in terms of food, but in terms of usage. The opposite shore realm was a place where dead spirits and souls gathered, and the native living beings' research on souls was unparalleled across the entire continent. Even the Void Spirit tribe of the Void Spirit realm might not be able to compare to them. After all, the Void Spirit tribe only knew how to eat, and eat, while the living beings of the opposite shore realm were more like normal people. Pill City was a renowned city in the opposite shore realm, so there was naturally a lot of good stuff inside. Su Xiaolan went shopping with Lin, and they found something good in the Ghost Jade Treasure Pavilion. It was a pair of round white crystals with a surface as smooth as a mirror. As long as their chi activity and spirit power were injected into the 2 white crystals at the same time, they would be able to communicate over a long distance. This was similar to the voice transmission amulet, but not only could the white crystal hear the voice, it could also see the appearance of the other party. This was the cultivation version of a video call. The price was a little expensive, more than 100,000 spirit stones. Bye. And Lin waved his hand and took the initiative to pay. There was not a trace of heartache on his face. He had the charisma of a boyfriend. This thing was far too valuable in the cultivation world where there was no internet. Afterward, the 2 of them injected the power of their divine sense and aura into the 2 white crystals. Then, they each put one of the white crystals away with a sweet smile on their faces. There was a sweet smile on their faces that was unique to the 2 of them. Gluttony bit down on a piece of the floor in rage upon seeing this. Oomph. What are those 2 smiling about? What's there to be happy about? Only what goes into one's stomach is one's own. Aonyo was perplexed. What's the point of that? Gluttony didn't reply. The highly intelligent frog had already started to reply. This glutton is experiencing severe psychological discomfort from what it's seeing. Aonyo still didn't understand. Everyone continued to collect pill refinement materials in secret as they strolled around. Not long after, Su Xiaolan discovered another good item. It was the emotion robe. When the owner put on this robe, the robe could change its color according to the owner's mood. For example, blue represented melancholy, black represented depression, red represented anger, white represented calmness, yellow represented happiness, and pink represented love. This emotion robe had a stylish appearance and a myriad of colors. It could change its color according to the owner's mood. This was very creative. One piece of clothing could give off different vibes and images. However, it was a little expensive. It cost 100,000 spirit stones. And Lin waved his hand. As long as Xiaolan liked it, he would buy it. He had the charisma of a boyfriend. Then, Xiaolan told him that this robe was for him to wear. Then, she told him to stand in front of other celestial maidens, such as Su Qianyun and Lu Qianhuan. Then, he would see what color the emotion robe would change to. Pink represented love. If it turned pink, all 3 of Lin's legs gave out from under him upon hearing this, and he felt extremely unwell. Holy F***CK. So this was a suicidal proposition. He had to fulfill his promise, even with tears in his eyes. Besides, Su Xiaolan had already spoken, so he had to buy this robe. Unlin's hands were trembling as he handed over the money. His boyfriend Aura was quite weak. Thus, Celestial Maiden Xiaolan gave him a rare piece of clothing. Unlin was filled with remorse. Unlin, treasure this robe for me. Wear it for me in the future. Su Xiaolan patted Unlin's shoulder with a smug expression. Unlin withdrew his emotion robe. He wanted nothing more than to smash this shop. Of all the things they could sell, why did they have to sell this SH*TTY thing? Wasn't this a scam? A smug expression appeared on Gluttony's face upon seeing this. See? I told you not to celebrate too early. What's there to be happy about? Only what goes into the stomach belongs to you. Ao Nyo heard Gluttony's slightly repetitive words, but he noticed that Gluttony's tone and expression were different. What do you mean by that? Gluttony didn't reply. Instead, his expression was filled with joy. The highly intelligent traveling frog interjected again. Ribbit, that glutton feels happy to see a couple in a conflict. This is a symptom unique to single dogs. Meh, I'm going to eat you. Gluttony was enraged as he glared at the frog. Aonyo blinked in confusion. It still didn't understand. Moo, why would they feel happy? Shouldn't we be worried about them and make them happy again? Aonyo was perplexed. Gluttony and the frog both stared at Aonyo in astonishment. What is it? Aonyo felt like he couldn't keep up with these two beasts. Nothing. I just feel like you're so pure and honest that I'm jealous. Gluttony replied. Honest cow. Good for you. The frog gave him a thumbs up. Aonyo chuckled. Chapter 834. Everyone took a stroll around Pill City and finally gathered most of the ingredients needed to refine the pill. We're still missing 2 core materials. We might have to go to the pill tower to find them. Dongfang Zhuangshi caressed the green jade storage ring in his hand as he spoke to everyone. Pill tower? Is it the pagoda at the center of the city? Unlin turned toward the center of the city, where the 7-colored pagoda towered into the clouds. That's right, it's that legendary tower. Dongfang Zhuangshi gazed at the magnificent pagoda in the distance with a reminiscent look in his eyes. The Pill Pagoda is one of the most renowned pill refinement holy lands on the entire continent. Many mighty pill refinement masters have been born there, and there are even 8 supreme stage pill refinement masters there. Unlin was instantly filled with awe and veneration upon hearing this. As far as he knew, pill refinement could be divided into 5 major stages: Flame Mastery Stage, Fulfillment Stage, Spirit Gathering Stage, Soul Creation Stage, and Supreme Stage. In other words, this pill pagoda actually gave birth to 8 alchemists who had reached the pinnacle of perfection. This was truly a shocking matter. One had to realize that Ishi's pill refinement rank was only at the Supreme Stage. Su Xiaolan was extremely talented in pill refinement, and she had also received Shun Yin's complete pill refinement inheritance. Even so, she was only at the soul creation stage, so one could imagine just how bad *SS Supreme Stage pill refinement masters were. At the very least, refining immortal pills was no problem for them. Do we really have the right to enter such a bad *SS place? Unlin asked worriedly. To be honest, normal people really wouldn't be able to enter. However, you have to know that I have another identity. Dongfang Zhuangshi raised his proud head. All the beasts drew a sharp intake of breath. Unlin and Su Xiaolan's eyes shone with anticipation. An astonishing identity was about to be revealed. That's right, it's just as you think. I'm also a pill refinement master. A smug smile appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. And I'm a pill refinement master at the pinnacle of the spirit gathering stage. All the beasts, Unlin, Su Xiaolan, what do you think? Did you get a fright? Dongfang Zhuangshi's expression remained calm as he looked at everyone who was at a loss for words. The corners of Unlin's mouth twitched. Speaking of which, this uncle was a mythological beast of the Tao integration stage, but he was only at the spirit gathering pinnacle stage in pill refinement. What was there to be proud of? Should I tell him that Xiaolan's pill refinement skills are even higher than his, and she's already at the soul creation stage? Su Xiaolan had a hard time holding it in. It was really hard to watch a senior boasting about a weaker alchemy skill than her. She had to maintain a normal expression on her face. Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. In the Pill Tower, Supreme Realm Pill Refinement Masters are already extremely transcendent beings. An alchemist at the Soul Creation Realm could assume the position of an elder or a teacher. People like me who are at the peak of spirit gathering are the most outstanding students of the Pill Pagoda. And Lin twitched the corner of his mouth and smiled as well. The other beasts also chimed in, and Lin was exasperated. F***CK, this be** star was probably just like him. His aptitude in pill refinement was negative, and he relied on his cultivation base to get there. His pill refinement skills were at the flame mastery stage, and he relied on his soul formation stage cultivation base to get there. Dongfang Zhuangshi's spirit gathering stage cultivation base was probably also the result of his Dao integration stage cultivation base. After all, at that cultivation base, even a pig would have some understanding of other things. Wait, the uncle said that he wanted to refine pills. But with his pill refinement rank, what kind of stupid pills could he refine? Uncle Dongfang, you said that you wanted to refine a pill that can conceal our auras. What rank of pill is it? Can you refine it with your pill refinement skills? Lin asked in a more tactful manner. Dongfang Zhuangshi sighed lightly. That pill is a secret recipe that I obtained from an ancient book. It's a third-grade spirit pill, but I'm not powerful enough yet. I'll have to trouble a soul creation stage pill refinement master to refine it. That's a bit troublesome. After all, I can't hide the pill recipe any longer. But that's all right. For the sake of safety, I have to make some sacrifices. The uncle had clearly already made up his mind. He looked like he was going to sacrifice himself. There's actually no need to go through so much trouble. Xiaolan is actually a soul creation stage pill refinement master. And Lin hesitated momentarily before deciding to speak. The uncle's eyes widened in shock. "WH, what did you say?" Su Xiaolan replied, Uncle Dongfang, I am indeed a soul creation stage pill refinement master. If it's a third-grade spirit pill, I think I should be able to successfully refine it with the pill recipe. Dongfang Zhuangshi, even though he had lived for so many years, the uncle's face still felt like it was on fire. His face became a little flushed. What would he do? He had flexed in front of everyone, only to have a junior suddenly tell him that she seemed to be more powerful than he was. This kind of feeling was really quite hurtful. Who would have thought that the pill refinement skills that he had painstakingly cultivated for so many years would be inferior to a young woman's pill refinement skills? Had he lived so many years in vain? Dongfang Zhuangshi looked at the bashful and confident woman before him. For some reason, the image of a big-eyed woman in a yellow tunic suddenly appeared in his mind. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble Ms. Su Xiaolan. Dongfang Zhuangshi was momentarily dazed before nodding in agreement. After deciding on the pill refinement master, everyone continued to approach the pill tower. Dongfang Zhuangshi was actually a little dejected. The honor of being the #1 pill refinement master in the team had been snatched away. Su Xiaolan was a little horrified. Her pill refinement skills were superior to all Dao integration stage and return to void stage mighty figures. This was far too surreal. To be honest, she would be able to brag about this for a very long time if word of this got out. Soon, they arrived at the pill tower. There seemed to be some kind of event taking place on the Dao Plaza in front of the pill tower. A large number of living beings had already gathered here, and it was extremely lively. There were hundreds of thousands of living beings on the Dao Plaza within a radius of 10 kilometers. It would not be an exaggeration to describe this place as a sea of people. At the very center of the Dao Plaza, an extremely loud and clear voice sounded. It's almost here. The Pill Tower's new Talent Cup Pill Refinement Competition, which is held once every 10 years, is about to begin. As long as you're under 30 years of age and your pill refinement rank has reached the Flame Mastery stage, you can register to participate. The rewards for this competition are extremely generous. As long as you place in the top 100, you'll receive a chance to enter the Pill Tower. As long as you place in the top 5, you'll receive a 6th grade Immortal Pill coupon. If you become the champion of this competition, you'll receive a precious pill refinement treasure from the Pill Tower, which is the intermediate rank immortal tool, the 9-spirit cauldron of 8 desolation. The host's voice spread throughout the Tao Plaza and also traveled into the ears of Enlin and the others. Enlin and Su Xiaolan's eyes both lit up upon hearing this. The two of them turned to look at each other and saw the scorching light in each other's eyes. Enlin, I just so happen to be lacking a pill refinement cauldron for pill refinement, Su Xiaolan said in a crisp voice. Go, Xiaolan. Show these living beings what true pill refinement skills are. Enlin encouraged. Dongfang Zhuangshi. Chapter 835. It was one thing for Enlin to be so quick-witted, but why was Su Xiaolan, who had always been calm and rational, also thinking about participating in the competition? The floating monster nodded and handed their entry badges to the two of them. Find an empty spot and stand there. The competition will commence in an hour. The human race and the Western Dragon tribe had always been hostile toward one another. If this were any other place, Enlin would have immediately unleashed a mountain-quaking fist to defend the intelligent human race. Enlin was astonished. He had been insulted by a weak dragon, and it seemed like it was a little difficult for him to retaliate. An oval-shaped monster with an inky black body and a pair of white eyes caught sight of two extremely unfamiliar beings. Humans. Enlin turned his gaze toward the black dragon to find a Western dragon. Uncle Dongfang, that's what I was thinking, Su Xiaolan explained. Didn't you say that if the Divine Bat Emperor came here and unleashed its divine sense, we wouldn't be able to escape no matter how we try to conceal ourselves? In that case, there's no difference between keeping a low profile and keeping a high profile. Su Xiaolan's pill refinement cauldron was lavishly decorated with a phoenix insignia on it. It was actually an intermediate rank spirit tool. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes widened with incredulity. Enlin thought about it and realized that Su Xiaolan really hadn't mentioned the pig head, and he almost choked on his own words. He massaged his brows. So, you want to obtain that 9-spirit cauldron? If you say another word, I'll cut off your tongue. The voice sounded again. Each of them pulled out 1,000 spirit stones as registration fees. It was quite clear that she was very arrogant right now. It's like giving you an ugly wok to cook in and giving you an extremely beautiful wok to cook in. The chef's technique and mindset will be different, and the dishes they cook will also be different. The two of them happily took their entry badges and went to find empty seats. Enlin, he couldn't help but look at the dragon's alchemy furnace, and then the corner of his mouth twitched. So, this is the reason why you carved your portrait on the alchemy furnace? It took out a mirror and aimed it at Enlin and Su Xiaolan. That's right. You're a stupid human. He knows nothing about alchemy. Enlin had no hope of winning the prize. He was purely here to join in the fun and accompany Su Xiaolan so that she would not be so lonely. In any case, 1,000 spirit stones were nothing to him. Aside from the mighty figures of the sinister spirit beast cesspool who can use their heavenly eyes and identify our auras, no one else knows who we are. This spirit-nurturing, final stage dragon tribe cultivator could withstand half of his mountain-quaking fist? Pa. I Su Xiaolan sign up? Enlin blushed and retorted, What do you know? The appearance of the alchemy furnace was not important. What was important was the interior. What's wrong with a pig's head? Are you looking down on pigs? All right, I'll cast a spell technique on you two to change your auras. Dongfang Zhuangshi made a series of hand seals and said, Even the mighty figures of a sinister spirit beast cesspool can only recognize people by their auras. They have never seen your original appearance. Ha! Enlin, your pill refinement cauldron is so unique. Su Xiaolan pointed at the two pig heads on top of the pill refinement cauldron and laughed so hard that she couldn't stand straight. Julia's cultivation base was not low either. In fact, she was quite outstanding among all the competitors, having reached the soul formation initial stage. To be able to reach this rank before 30 years of age was indeed an exceptional prodigy. My confidence in pill refinement is greatly boosted by the sight of myself, and my pill refinement skills will also be enhanced accordingly. Stupid human, you've learned a lot, haven't you? A smug expression appeared on the dragon tribe cultivator's face. Hee hee. Stupid human, you don't know sh*t. The appearance of the alchemy furnace is not important? Who gave you the courage to say this? A strong voice suddenly rang out. That's right, the dragon tribe cultivator's alchemy furnace had a statue that was extremely similar to it, and it looked even more handsome. He glanced at the participants around the dojo. It was extremely spacious, and he could not see the end of the dojo. There were tens of thousands of living beings standing in front of the alchemy cauldron. It was a western black lizard dragon that was standing beside him. Its wings were smooth, and the edges were as sharp as blades. Its yellow eyes were flashing with a dangerous light. Gray, don't cause trouble or I'll kill you. And Lin chimed in. Uncle, you also said that the Pill Tower is an extremely powerful and neutral force, and they won't cooperate with any other force to do anything they don't want to do. The Pill Sage didn't even give face to Ghost Emperor Pajun, so there's no need to worry about any collusion. The Western Dragon looked at Lin with contempt. Even if there are people from the sinister spirit beast cesspool here, they won't know who Lin and I are. What's there to be afraid of? Just the registration fee alone was over 10 million spirit stones. This was a huge profit. That's right. The two of them agreed in unison. Stupid humans? And Lin shot a glance at them. The dragon spoke in a calm and collected manner. Pill refiners must first have a form, then a spirit, and only then can they develop a divine aura. The appearance of the alchemy furnace can affect the perception of the pill refiner, which in turn affects the shape and spirit of the pill. This is the foundation of pill refinement, so it's extremely important. And Lin blinked. What? Is there a problem? Do you understand? Didn't we agree to keep a low profile? Why do you want to compete in such a grand manner? Dongfang Zhuangshi was a little perplexed by their actions. There were over 300,000 onlookers, and it was quite a lively scene to behold. A white light flashed, and their ages were displayed on the mirror. Both of them were 21 years old, and their pill refinement rank was above the flame mastery stage, which was enough to qualify for the competition. Su Xiaolan blinked before speaking in a pleasant voice. I didn't say I looked down on pigs. Why did you mention pigs? Wait, you want to participate in the competition? The floating monster silently accepted the money. The Pill Tower was a renowned holy land, after all. All living beings were equal here, so it was normal for all races to participate in the competition. He then looked at the two affectionate pig heads on his alchemy furnace, and he couldn't describe what he was feeling. The black dragon immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare to say anything. Not long after, a beautiful true demon tribe beauty in a red dress flew into the air and announced in a vibrant voice, "Participants from all forces of the continent, take note. The decennial Pill Tower Cup of New Talent Pill Refinement Competition begins now." There were many living beings here, but there was even more space for the competition. The two of them who had received the blessing of Dongfang Zhuangshi's halo immediately went to register. That's right, I and Lin register. The black dragon's body trembled, and he nodded emphatically. Please calm down, Julia. I promise I won't cause trouble again. Su Xiaolan was itching to go, and there was a ball of flames burning in her eyes. Dongfang Zhuangshi didn't know what else to say after hearing their words. Its entire body was as blue as a cold spring, and its wings were sleek and smooth. It looked extremely beautiful, like an ice dragon, but who would have thought that it would have such a fiery personality? Lin looked to his side, only to find a gargantuan body close to 100 feet tall, blocking his view. At this moment, a slightly ferocious voice sounded. They quickly found a relatively large corner and carried out their alchemy furnace. Chapter 836. Wah, I didn't bring any pill refinement materials. Am I screwed? A white leopard from the sinister spirit beast cesspool squatted on the ground and sobbed. Gathering ingredients, starting a fire, unleashing a pill refinement spell technique. It was a pity that he didn't have the talent to do so. As an outstanding pill refinement master, you don't even have a set of spirit pill ingredients in your bag. How are you going to compete for the top 100 spots of the Pill Tower? You might as well piss off now. Mimi's voice reverberated throughout the Dow Plaza. Gray glowered at her. You don't know sh*T. Entering the top 100 is a supreme honor. Don't bother me, you pill refinement noob. Entering the top 100 is the supreme honor? One evil pair of safety pants. I brought some pill refinement materials, but I don't have enough to refine a spirit refinement pill. And Lin was genuinely envious as he looked at all the nervous and orderly competitors, as well as the smooth movements of each and every one of them. His words instantly sent the entire Dow Plaza into an uproar. Mimi paused for a moment before flicking a finger. Streaks of white light shot toward the competitors on the ground like sharp swords, and cries of anguish rang out incessantly. Duong. And Lin faltered slightly. He was a little perplexed, but he didn't think too much about it. Instead, he focused on refining his pill. A cultivator at the pinnacle of the flame mastery stage should be able to refine the lowest grade spirit pill. And Lin heaved a long sigh. What a ploy. After all, he had robbed so many return to void stage mighty figures. So how could he not have some leftovers? He didn't waste any more time and pulled out some ingredients from his storage ring. Although there weren't many spirit stones in his storage ring, there were mountains of other precious materials. Can you do it? Su Xiaolan was astonished. All the competitors were astonished again. Why was he fighting? Su Xiaolan pursed her lips. What a domineering CEO. And Lin finally came to his senses. Everyone became more attentive upon hearing the commencement of the pill refinement competition. The preliminary round of the competition requires each competitor to refine a spirit pill within 2 hours and submit it to the pill tower. According to the grade and quality of the pills, the elders will select the top 100 participants. The rest will all be eliminated. Also, Mimi's red eyes flirtatiously winked at the minister beneath her skirt and said in a soft voice, "Prepare your own pill refining materials." Although he was not short of money, he did not want the organizers to take his money. Aren't you going to fight for the top 100? Is it really okay to get that kind of material? Holy shit. How can this be? Didn't you say that the pill tower would help you refine the pills? As Rose began to count down from the sky, the 2,000 participants below began to move. Su Xiaolan, don't you think our sex development plan is a bit off track? Sigh, after being used to being a dragon, the pursuit of being in the top 100 was really unbearable, and Lin did not look at it because Su Xiaolan was beside him. He was a gentleman. Sigh, forgive me. I can't understand the pursuit of a weakling like you. And Lin let out a long sigh. However, those two slender and fair legs were still quite attractive. Some people still felt that it was not a loss. Gray almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard that. He said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense, or I'll eat you. Don't you need to refine pills?" As a result, a strange scene unfolded in the arena. More than half of the participants were directly eliminated before they could even start refining pills. A man can't say no. And Lin replied with his chest puffed out. The bell for the competition officially rang. And Lin glanced at Gray beside him and saw that the materials he took out were not high grade. As he spoke, he extended his thick dragon claws and carefully selected the ingredients. And Lin could feel it even more clearly. He knew that it was some kind of monitoring power. Gray's dragon body trembled, and he nodded submissively. "Got it, Cousin Julia. I will definitely squeeze into the top 100. I won't let you down." With his strength at the peak of the Flame Mastery realm, this kind of pill should not be a problem. "Hey, Gray, if you can't make it into the top 100 and enter the pill tower, I will kill you. Do you understand?" Julia suddenly shouted. Many living beings were in despair again. They had just thought of buying from those who had the ingredients, but Rose had cut off their way out again. Su Xiaolan tapped her chin and hesitated. She was clearly not sure. "How about I refine a 5th grade pill first? I think a 5th grade pill can make it into the top 100. The rules of the pill tower are different every year. Wearing a red dress and standing so high up, wasn't it to give them an omniscient view?" And Lin blinked. Did she have some kind of misunderstanding about supreme glory? That's right. He had to refine pills too. He had to run even if he had to. And Lin waved his hand. "Who cares? It's our sect, anyway. Why can't we do it? Her red high heels abruptly stepped into the air, and a semi-transparent white formation suddenly appeared, enshrouding the entire Dow Plaza. All of the competitors felt as if some kind of power had enshrouded their bodies. Xiaolan, after we get back, let's organize a competition in the name of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. I feel like we can make so much money. And Lin couldn't help but suggest with an excited expression. And Lin nodded. Then I'll refine a 9th-grade spirit pill. Ha! That's true. How can a stupid human like you make it into the top 100? Don't waste the ingredients. Gray continued to taunt, and Lin couldn't help but burst into laughter. Oh, isn't this the alchemy master Gray? Why are you being scolded like a little kid? Trying to make it into the top 100? Isn't this goal too small? Many of the competitors were completely dumbstruck. Some of them roared into the sky. Some of them accused the organizers of being retarded, and some of them had tears streaming down their faces. My name is Mimi, and I'm the MC for this competition. Don't try anything funny in front of me. If you break the rules, you'll be immediately disqualified. The female true demon flew through the air, and her red dress danced in the wind, making her appear like a blooming rose. The battle was extremely intense. Su Xiaolan nodded in agreement. The registration fee is 1,000 spirit stones. With over 10,000 competitors, we'll be able to make over 10 million spirit stones. Furthermore, we have to prepare the ingredients ourselves. Not only that, but we also have to hand in the spirit pills we refine to the pill tower. That's equivalent to making a huge amount of spirit pills in an instant. This is going to be an unimaginable source of income. All of the competitors turned to look at the true demon in the sky with scorching light in their eyes, and their heartbeats accelerated. However, many of the competitors were disappointed. He really wanted to flex as well. He wanted to see everyone's astonished expressions when he refined a divine pill. That would be quite a thrill, wouldn't it? In the end, there were only 2,000 or so competitors left on the competition grounds. Why did they have to wear safety pants? After some serious thought, Lin chose a 9th-grade spirit pill that was relatively easy to refine. It's over. This isn't fair. The judges for this competition will be the 10 elders of our pill tower. Mimi pointed at the 10 strange-looking elders at the front of the Dow Plaza and introduced them one by one. Private swapping of ingredients is prohibited on the competition grounds. Mimi warned in a cold voice. Even if they were to lose, they had to lose with dignity, right? Speaking of which, if we want to make it into the top 100, how many spirit pills should we refine? This is only the preliminary competition, right? If we refine too many spirit pills, we'll lose out. And Lin spoke with a concerned expression. Its name was the Clear Sparrow Pill, and it had the effect of clearing one's meridians and removing fatigue from battle. It had to be said that this was quite reasonable. In any case, even though he was just here to accompany them, he couldn't embarrass himself too much. Chapter 837. And Lin was dumbstruck. I made it into the top 100. He almost threw up a mouthful of blood at the sight of Gray's pill refinement. The better one's control over flames, the less mistakes they would make during pill refinement. On top of that, pills refined with high-quality flames would be able to display their essence and spirit, thereby improving the quality of the pill. Well done, Lin. You've improved, Su Xiaolan praised with a dainty smile. Boom! Many of the participants who had yet to refine their pills all heaved a forlorn sigh. Tens of thousands of people erupted into cheers, and their cheers erupted into the heavens. This was a phenomenon that occurred after spirit pills were refined one after another. A bell chimed, and the competition ended abruptly. Amid the boundless cheers, there were two people who were completely dumbstruck, as if they were living in a dream. Congratulations on advancing to the second round of the competition. Gray's huge face convulsed, and he wanted to hurl abuse, but he couldn't afford to be distracted at the moment of pill condensation. And Lin didn't know how many people had been eliminated, but he was focused on pill refinement. Of course, most of them were participants who had failed their pill refinement and were taken out of the competition. And Lin's expression darkened. Was there need to be so happy just because he had refined a 9th-grade spirit pill? Su Xiaolan was also dumbstruck. I just casually refined a spirit pill, and I'm in first place. Every participant who had refined a spirit pill had their competition badge and spirit pill drawn into the sky by a burst of power before landing in Mei Mei's hand. Refining a ninth-grade spirit pill? What are you going to rely on to make it into the top 100? With your cauldron? Su Xiaolan had also completed her pill. I have to fix this. At the very least, I have to refine this spirit pill. And Lin felt as if a certain image in his heart had crumbled as the black dragon beside him had also reached the pill condensation stage in pill refinement. Judging from the energy fluctuations emanating from the pill, it was refining. It was also a F** King 9th grade spirit pill. Eliminated. A beam of light suddenly descended from the spell formation, shattering the living being's competition badge. Xiaozi couldn't be bothered with this blindly worshipping butterfly. An explosion suddenly erupted from the side, along with a blood-curdling scream. What kind of flame to use in alchemy was also a kind of pay attention to. So divine fire is actually so rare? The divine flame was a flame with extremely high purity and divine nature. Bored? Why don't you cheer for Master? However, Dongfang Zhuangshi also chimed in at this moment. Mr. Lin is indeed quite outstanding. He's not the best, but he's steady and steady. Compared to the other contestants, he's quite impressive. Rumble. Lin was refining a 9th grade spirit pill, so he didn't care about the quality. If he didn't make a mistake, he would thank the heavens and earth. Naturally, he would choose the flame that he had the best control over. Finally, the medicinal pill was done. You, a master who looks like an alchemist, actually refined a 9th grade elixir. It wasn't boring. Right now, Lin was like carefully nurturing a living creature. Every step couldn't be wrong, and once he succeeded, he would obtain a great sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. It suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of dragon flame on the elixir in the alchemy furnace. Gray was ecstatic, and he also began to cheer loudly. Haha, my dream has finally come true. I can finally enter the pill tower to cultivate. This is a supreme honor. You can't enter the top 100? That's not necessarily the case. I think Master is quite impressive. The J-Bone Immortal Butterfly said. Su Xiaolan wasn't using a holy flame either. Instead, she was using a golden divine flame. This was so fun. There are only 90 contestants who can enter the pill tower as disciples this time. There were still some flaws in Lin's pill refinement. Under normal circumstances, Su Xiaolan would have given him some pointers already. However, she couldn't do that now. If she did that, both she and Lin would be disqualified. With this in mind, Lin couldn't help but turn toward Gray. She turned toward Lin to find that Lin was controlling the divine flame. His movements weren't very graceful, but they were very methodical. There was a pair of calm and focused eyes on his handsome face. Energy fluctuations proliferated outward, and the pill condensation was a success. Time flew by. Boom! Xiaozi faltered slightly upon hearing this. Even Dongfang Zhuangshi was saying this? He finally turned his attention to the man, and the more he looked at him, the more astonished he became. Go, Master's wife. Xiaozi looked on from the spectator, stands with a nervous expression. She was completely entranced. Boom! He really couldn't flex when it came to pill refinement. Even the weak dragon beside him could mock him. Lin's eyes widened with incredulity. Lin knew that Su Xiaolan was looking at him, and he couldn't help but work even harder. A living being played with fire, and the cauldron exploded. He had thought that Gray had some tricks up his sleeve, but it turned out that he was all talk. His powerful divine sense swept through the cauldron. Pill refinement appeared to be quite boring, but it was actually quite exciting. A ball of purple flames appeared beneath the pill refinement cauldron, and it burned fiercely. A translucent spirit pill exuded pure energy fluctuations in the air. And Lin couldn't perform as well as Su Xiaolan. He was extremely careful with each ingredient, and he carefully controlled the flames to prevent the cauldron from exploding. The J-Bone Immortal Butterfly landed on Xiao Zhe's shoulder with a puzzled expression. She could only look on in silence. And Lin used all of his energy to refine this pill. Waves of energy surged through the cauldron. Duong. These 90 participants were the future hope of the Pill Tower, as well as the future pillars of Pill City. No one would be stingy with their cheers at a time like this. Master is just here to accompany them. What's there to cheer for? It's not like I'm going to make it into the top 100 anyway, so I'm just here to experience the competition. Xiaozhe wore a nonchalant expression. Su Xiaolan's slender hands danced through the air like butterflies, and each ingredient flew into the pill refinement cauldron one by one. Her movements were as smooth as flowing water, and she displayed the demeanor of a master. This was the first divine flame that Enlin had obtained, and it was a flame that was both powerful and precise. A total of 125 spirit pills have been refined, and 35 have failed. Humans would always want to express themselves better when they had the attention of someone they liked. It felt good to be able to flex a little here and there. PFFF. Are you really that F** King Week? The choice of flame depended on the pill being refined. Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise, and Lin's heart trembled as he immediately stabilized the flame. He couldn't perform as gracefully as Su Xiaolan, and he was even more unable to perform as elegantly as she. All he could do was carefully refine the pill as if he were a precious baby. And Lin was focused on pill refinement, and he only gave the spectators a mysterious smile before continuing to refine the pill. The cat beast, which was only half the size of a grown man, left in a daze. It glanced at Enlin, and its pupils contracted in shock. This flame is a divine flame? Sweat beaded on Enlin's forehead as he stared at the pill in his hand with a joyful expression. This was a 9th grade spirit pill. Even though it was the worst among all 9th grade spirit pills, it was still a spirit pill. Enlin looked at the woman beside him with a satisfied expression. It's just just a little better than the average person. As expected, men who worked hard were the most handsome. She was very satisfied with her pill. This pill should be able to get her into the top 100. Otherwise, these competitors would be way too insane. Haha, I did it. I finally refined a spirit pill. Gray danced with joy like a child who weighed a few hundred tons. He only came to his senses after a while, and he made a decision in his heart. This was because even the slightest mistake could cause the pill refinement results to fall short of success. And Lin was momentarily entranced. As expected, beautiful women who worked hard were the most attractive. Demonic star flame, I choose you. And Lin currently had 6 types of flames at his disposal. The demonic star flame, the great holy flame, the setting moon flame, the heavenly void flame, the mutant blood phoenix flame, and the holy vermilion bird flame, including the golden dragon flame from the high-rank immortal tool, the divine flame bead. He now had a total of 7 types of flames. Unexpectedly, his effort this time had caused his fire to be too fierce, and he had almost burned a medicinal ingredient. Su Xiaolan refined the highest grade spirit pill, which is at the pinnacle of the 5th grade. After that is Rika, the Black Sword Lord, Banyu, Julia, and Lin Gray. Boom, boom, boom. Chapter 838. This ranking had caught them off guard. And Lin and Su Xiaolan even began to doubt the pill tower's strength. Was this the strength of the top 100? No, the top 90 pill refiners of the younger generation? So weak. Su Xiaolan was aiming for the top 100, but she ended up in first place. And Lin was aiming for the top 90, but he ended up in the top 90. This was too surreal. When the competition token flew in front of Enlin, the joyful Gray's pupils contracted, and he exclaimed in shock, "So you're Enlin? Oh my god, I didn't expect you to have this kind of strength." Enlin sighed. I also didn't expect that my ranking would be higher than yours just by casually refining pills. Is this the highest honor you were talking about? As expected, I'm too powerful, so I can't understand the lives of weaklings like you. Gray almost spat out a mouthful of blood upon hearing this, but he couldn't refute it. After all, when Mimi had announced the rankings, and Lin just happened to be in front of Gray, so he remembered it quite clearly. The black salamander was both embarrassed and angry, and it opened its huge mouth and roared, "Roar! And Lin, I'm going to kill you." Bam! Gray's head suddenly suffered a heavy blow. Gray, if you dare to cause trouble again, I'll kill you first. Julia's sharp dragon claws pressed down on Gray's head as if she was going to crush it at any moment. Ah, cousin, I won't dare to do it again. Please spare me. Gray shrank his head and loudly begged for mercy. And Lin, could it be that Gray's "I'll kill you" catchphrase had been infected by his cousin? The eliminated participants began to leave the competition venue, and the huge venue suddenly became much more spacious, and the circle of spectators shrank once again. The gazes of hundreds of thousands of living beings gathered on these 90 geniuses. That's right, and Lin also had the opportunity to be seen as a genius by other living beings as a pill refiner, and he enjoyed a wave of envious and adoring gazes. Of course, the one who attracted the most attention was Su Xiaolan. Originally, Su Xiaolan only wanted to save materials and get into the top 100. However, she realized that she seemed to have used too much strength and became the first in the preliminary examination. She immediately shone brightly. Not only were the audience envious, even Mimi and the Pill Tower's elders couldn't help but take a few more glances at Su Xiaolan. She had clearly become a strong contender for the championship in everyone's hearts. And Lin looked at Su Xiaolan, who was in the limelight, with a proud look on his face. He really wanted to tell the audience loudly, "Awesome, right? She's my Tao companion." Many people had looks of admiration and admiration on their faces, but there were also some who had hostile gazes. They were the contestants, and they were not convinced that Su Xiaolan had won first place. It's clearly just the preliminaries, but you're refining such a high-grade medicinal pill. Do you want to stand out? A translucent woman covered in blue liquid placed her hands on her hips, a look of disdain on her face. Rika, don't mind her. Only stupid humans would do something like that. Can't we refine a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the 5th grade? She's the idiot who wasted materials and gave the Pill Tower a high-grade spirit pill. There's no need for us to do that. A true demon with a black sword on its back chuckled coldly. Glory? The higher you fly, the more painful it will be when you fall. She should be able to see the true disparity in power during the semifinals. An ethereal and distant voice rang out. It was a woman's body that was formed from a mass of black energy. Behind her was a green crescent moon. The 3 living beings who were speaking also caught everyone's attention as they were the top contenders for the championship. Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Banyu. There were 90 contestants gathered together, all of whom were at the spirit nurturing stage or above. Pill refinement actually had a lot to do with one's cultivation base. After all, as one's cultivation base reached a certain level, one's control over all aspects of power and perception would also increase. Even if one didn't have the aptitude for pill refinement, they would still be able to push their cultivation base to the next level. And Lin and Dongfang Zhuangshi were the best examples of this. Were these 90 contestants all powerful? Even if one ignored their pill refinement aptitude and just looked at their cultivation bases, anyone who could reach the spirit nurturing stage before the age of 30 could definitely be considered a top-tier prodigy in the kingdom of the 9 states. Just look at the Celestial Court's Xiaoxian United University. That was the place with the most prodigies of the younger generation in the kingdom of the 9 states. How many of them could reach the spirit nurturing stage before the age of 20? Hence, it really wasn't that the Pill Tower contestants were too weak. It was just that Lin and Su Xiaolan were too powerful. It was just that they didn't know how freakishly talented they were. After all, they were no longer fighting against living beings below the return to void stage. The second semifinals will determine the 5 most outstanding contestants. They will receive a 6th grade Immortal Pill coupon. Now let me announce the rules. Next, I will give you a 4th grade Spirit Pill coupon called the Spirit Rejuvenation Pill. What you need to do is refine this Spirit Rejuvenation Pill. The elders in the elder seating area will determine the winner based on the quality of the spirit pills refined. The materials will be provided by the Pill Tower, so it's free, Mimi said with a wide grin. All the contestants were speechless. If this wasn't provided by the Pill Tower for free, then what the F*** were they supposed to do? Most likely, half of the contestants would withdraw from the competition out of heartache. And Lin was quite happy. The Pill Tower finally had some conscience. It was probably because they saw that most of the contestants wanted to enter the Pill Tower and would harm their own, so they decided not to scam them too badly. Speaking of which, most of the contestants were already in despair when they found out that the pill they had to refine was a 4th grade spirit pill. F***CK. The starting requirement was even higher than the first place in the preliminary round. How were they supposed to compete? They were prodigies, yes, but they weren't freakishly talented. All the contestants were dejected. Many of them hadn't even refined a 5th grade spirit pill before, let alone a 4th grade spirit pill. How are they supposed to refine a 4th grade spirit pill? Even if Liang Jingru was singing beside them, it wouldn't be able to ignite their fighting spirit. Gray also had a look of despair on his face. He glanced at Enlin and said in exasperation, "Human, we're the weakest in the preliminary round. Let's not join the fun. Let's just watch from the sidelines." Enlin didn't move. He clasped his hands behind his back and chuckled. How can a sparrow know the ambitions of Swan? Gray's voice faltered. "Foolish human, I'm going to kill you." A chill suddenly swept over him, and the black dragon's body shrank back. Julia's gaze was fixed on Gray. "Enlin, I'm not leaving either. I'm going to watch from the sidelines. I want to see how you're going to embarrass yourself." Gray stood rooted to the spot with one hand on the cauldron and a cold smile on his face as he looked at Enlin. Enlin couldn't be bothered with that black dragon. He didn't really have the ability to refine 4th grade spirit pills. The only reason he didn't leave was because he couldn't stand the indignation of having his money stolen by the Pill Tower. He had to use the Pill Tower's medicinal ingredients. Sets of medicinal ingredients were distributed one after another. "Duong." As the bell rang, Mimi announced excitedly, "The second round of the competition begins now." Chapter 839. The second round of the pill refinement competition was hell mode from the get-go. Most of the contestants were in despair, but there were still some who were either full of enthusiasm or full of confidence. For example, the 3 most popular contestants were all smiling brightly at this moment. "Very good. Only by refining a 4th grade spirit pill will we be able to display our true abilities." The transparent woman materialized from blue liquid, nodded with a smile. She then turned towards Su Xiaolan with a faint smile. "Look, that human woman is standing on the spot without moving. She must have been scared shitless. Does she really think she's the champion just because she refined a 5th grade spirit pill?" The Black Sword Lord shook his head. "Humans are like this. They climb a mountain and think they've reached the peak, but they don't know what a true mountain is." She must be in despair now. What a delightful scene. Su Xiaolan should be able to recognize the cruel reality this time. Let's take care of ourselves as well. A 4th grade spirit pill is quite a challenge even for us. Ban Yu's voice was ethereal as green flames suddenly burst forth from the green crescent moon behind her. The green flames were extremely rich in life force energy, and using them to refine pills could enhance the pill's compatibility and spirituality, thereby improving the pill's quality. The 3 living beings no longer looked at Su Xiaolan. Instead, they turned their attention to pill refinement. All of the spectators began to discuss spiritedly among themselves at the sight of Su Xiaolan, who was standing on the spot without moving. Some were skeptical, some were perplexed, and some were disappointed. It wasn't that Su Xiaolan didn't know how to refine a 4th grade spirit pill. It was just that she was hesitating over which type of flame to use. Logically speaking, the mutant blood phoenix's flame was the most suitable for the 4th grade spirit pill, the rejuvenation spirit pill. This was because a life-type flame could enhance a life-type spirit pill. However, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to control that flame well. After all, she had just obtained this power, and she was still a little rusty in using it. If she made a mistake, it would be over for her. So be it. It's not like I have to fight for first place. I'll just fight for the top 5. Su Xiaolan began her pill refinement process. She was still using her usual flame, the golden phoenix flame. Previously, because there were thousands of people competing, not many people paid attention to Su Xiaolan refining pills. Right now, under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, Su Xiaolan used the mighty divine flame. The purity of the flame was extremely high, and there was the faint cry of a phoenix. It was gorgeous and noble. This scene once again caused a huge uproar among the audience. Oh my God, what did I just see? This purity, this concept, this is a divine flame, right? I didn't expect him to possess the divine fire at such a young age. His future is limitless. Previously, there were so many people who doubted her strength. Now, tell me, is she the kind of person who makes a ruckus to attract attention? Even if she can't refine 4th grade elixirs, with her ability to refine 5th grade elixirs and the godly fire, she will definitely be one of the top alchemists in the future. Some of the living beings fell silent, and some of them even felt like their faces were burning. In the Pill Tower's elders' seating area, the 10 elders were pleasantly surprised by Su Xiaolan's divine flame, and they began to discuss it. Such a good seedling, I want him. Tui, Lingyan, didn't you want to take Banyu as your disciple? Why did you suddenly change your mind? Who doesn't want a good disciple? Others might not be able to see it, but do you think we can't? With Su Xiaolan's alchemy skills, if it was in the past, she would be the champion. Now, apart from that untouchable person, who else can be her match? Just as Su Xiaolan attracted the attention of most of the living beings, and Lin also attracted the attention of one living being. That's right, it was that male dragon, Gray. Gray placed one hand on his elixir furnace and struck a comfortable pose. He picked his nose and chuckled. And Lin, hurry up and refine elixirs. I'm waiting for you to win the competition and reach the pinnacle of life. The corner of Lin's mouth twitched slightly. With an idiot constantly mocking him, it was really a terrible experience. It was fine if he could show off and slap people in the face, but he couldn't. Most of the pill refiners who could enter the second round were spirit gathering stage. There were very few pill refiners at the pinnacle of the flame mastery stage like in Lin and Gray, and they had all forfeited. The only pill refiner at the flame mastery stage who didn't forfeit was Lin. Forget it. I'll get my all. Lin gritted his teeth and released the flames of the mutant blood phoenix. Boom! The crimson flames surged and filled the entire elixir furnace. At the side, Gray, who was just about to open his mouth to mock them, jumped in fright when he saw this scene. His eyes widened in shock. That's divine flame? What's there to be surprised about? And Lin blinked. Divine flame? That's the flame that pill refiners dream of obtaining. One has to be extremely powerful and have all sorts of miraculous encounters to obtain a divine flame. How do you have one? Gray's mouth gaped open, and his face twisted with jealousy. So divine flames are this bad, *SS? And Lin continued to select ingredients as he said, I really don't understand why weaklings like you are so shocked. I still have a few divine flames that I haven't used yet. Gray's body shuddered as he gritted his teeth. Are we really living in the same world? How would you do this? I'm going to kill you. And Lin rolled his eyes and couldn't be bothered to deal with the stupid dragon. He placed the ingredients he had selected into the elixir furnace one by one before controlling the flames of the mutant blood phoenix to refine the ingredients. He knew that refining 9th grade spirit pills was already his limit, but that didn't mean that he had to give up. Taking the challenge seriously and then failing in a dignified manner seemed like a pretty good choice to him. The pill refinement process began. The higher the grade of the pill, the more difficult it was to extract the essence from the ingredients and fuse them together. And Lin was extremely careful with each and every step he took, and he was extremely focused. Even though he didn't release his consciousness, he was constantly stimulating all of the senses in his body in order to adjust his condition to its peak. Gray looked on from the side. For some reason, it felt like Lin was becoming more and more powerful. His pill refinement process seemed to be even more intricate than its own. He's starting to extract the essence from the 2nd grade spirit herb, the eternal spring grass. He won't be able to overcome this obstacle with his current abilities, Gray murmured to itself. Even though that was what it was saying, the black dragon's gaze was drawn to Lin this entire time. For some reason, A peculiar emotion welled up in its heart at the sight of Enlin's struggling expression. It was time to extract the essence from the eternal spring grass, and Lin's fingers guided the flames as he focused his attention to a high degree. Even a veteran spirit gathering stage pill refinement master would find it extremely difficult to extract the essence from a second-grade spirit herb, let alone someone like him who hadn't even reached the spirit gathering stage yet. Concentrate, and slowly peel it off. It's over. The eternal spring grass is about to collapse. I can't hold on any longer. The flames are too difficult to control. Lin felt powerless for the first time. If this goes on, the ingredients will be ruined. Who can help me? In his sea of vital energy, the flaming vermilion bird that was soaring high in the sky seemed to have heard the call in Lin's heart and raised its head. Do you want me to teach you pill refinement? Don't resist. I'll help you. A familiar yet unfamiliar voice suddenly appeared in Lin's mind. Lin was slightly taken aback, and he subconsciously said in his heart, "Come and help me." Boom! Lin's body trembled, and he opened his eyes again. There seemed to be a flaming vermilion bird flashing across his black and white eyes. He made a grabbing motion toward the eternal spring grass, and the blood-colored flames seemed to have changed their nature as they obediently and gently peeled off the shell of the spirit herb. The essence of the eternal spring grass was perfectly extracted. Chapter 840. Gray stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before his eyes as waves of shock surged through his heart. What's going on? Am I seeing things? He rubbed his eyes before turning toward Enlin again, upon which he was greeted by the sight of Enlin's hands fluidly dancing in the air. The crimson flames were extremely lively, as if they had a life of their own as they danced around joyfully. All of the materials within the pill refinement cauldron were enshrouded by the flames, and they were constantly being refined at a high speed. This technique, why can't I understand it? Gray felt like he was watching a magic spell. The essence of all of the materials was extracted and fused together to form a single entity. The pill had already begun to materialize, and the entire process was extremely smooth. It could even be said that this was a flawless operation. The unique properties of the flames began to attach themselves to the spirit pill, slowly elevating its quality. Boom! At this moment, a powerful vital energy fluctuation erupted in the distance. Someone had completed the pill first. A green pill hovered in midair. Rika, whose entire body was constructed from blue liquid, chortled with glee as she caressed the pill. I've finally refined a fourth-grade spirit pill. This is the first time I've ever refined one. She was ecstatic. Successfully refining a fourth-grade spirit pill was basically enough. At the very least, she would be able to enter the top 5. She turned toward her competitors, the Black Sword Lord and Banyu. Those two had also reached the core condensation stage. It looked like it was only a matter of time before they refined a fourth-grade spirit pill. That blue-ice dragon seems to be quite powerful as well. It's a dark horse. I think its name is Julia. Rika became more cautious. There were so many prodigies in this world, so there would naturally be unexpected competitors. That blue Wester dragon was most likely a dark horse. She then turned toward a certain direction with a mocking smile on her face. Now, she was going to see how that arrogant and stupid human was faring. Had he broken down or fallen into despair? Rika turned towards Su Xiaolan, and her pupils contracted upon seeing the flames Su Xiaolan had unleashed. She stood rooted to the spot with a dumbstruck expression. That's a divine flame? The divine flame that she had always dreamed of was being unleashed by a human that she looked down upon. Boom! Su Xiaolan's pill was complete. A rich pill aroma wafted through the entire space. There was a golden flame phoenix dancing above the green spiritual Dan. This was the addition of the divine flame. Rika's body swayed slightly, and she felt as if a sword had been stabbed into her heart. This spirit pill is probably at the pinnacle of fourth-grade spirit pills, right? The moment Su Xiaolan succeeded in condensing her core, the hundreds of thousands of spectators were shocked once again. The living beings who had been mocking her earlier now tightly shut their mouths, feeling extremely ashamed. The 10-pill tower elders on the stage were also slightly startled. They knew that Su Xiaolan was very powerful, but this degree of power seemed to be much higher than what they had expected. Soul creation stage pill refinement techniques, divine flame level pill refinement flames, and an extremely profound cultivation base. Genius. She really is an exceptional pill refinement prodigy. A twisted crimson spider exclaimed. The pill sage's daughter really has a worthy opponent now. The four-armed ape stroked his beard as he spoke. This mid-rank immortal artifact, 9-spirit cauldron of 8 desolation, was originally going to be a gift from the pill sage to his daughter. Now that I look at it, a white flame figure shook its head with a worried look on its face. Rumble, rumble. At this moment, the Black Sword Lord and Ban Yu also completed their pill refinement. They had already heard the cheers from the spectators, and now that they had completed their pills, they turned toward the center of attention, upon which they faltered again. That was a spirit pill with extremely powerful energy fluctuations and the aura of divine flame revolving around it. Su Xiaolan. It was her again. There was no need for the elders to make a judgment. Even they could tell that Su Xiaolan's pill was more powerful than theirs. Thinking back to what they had said earlier, it really was a joke. Using her full power right from the start, only able to refine a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the 5th grade, being a show-off? Now, it looked like those rumors had been completely debunked. The Black Sword Lord and Ban Yu's faces were both a little flushed with embarrassment, and they were at a loss for words. Being a show-off wasn't wrong. She was most likely going to crush them all the way until the end of the competition. What's wrong? Are you still not convinced? Who would have thought? It looks like we really aren't fated to become the champion this time, the Black Sword Lord said with a bitter expression. Su Xiaolan? Looks like another top-tier pill, refinement grandmaster, is about to appear in the human race. Ban Yu shook her head. The champion is most likely going to be her. She really is the biggest dark horse. We can only secure a spot in the top 5. Rika also wore a resigned expression. In the face of absolute power, she had no choice but to concede. Rumble. Another violent shockwave erupted. Everyone turned toward a certain direction to discover a woman in a black robe. Her golden eyes were slightly narrowed, and she seemed to be smiling. In front of her was a green rejuvenation spirit pill with golden threads revolving around it. The life force energy within the pill was imbued with rich spiritual might. All of the contestants' expressions became very interesting. In particular, Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Ban Yu. All of their expressions were filled with astonishment. This 4th grade spirit pill was also of an extremely high quality. Another dark horse had appeared. Their limelight had been overshadowed again. Who is that? I can't see clearly with that black robe. Where did so many prodigies come from? This shouldn't be happening. It's going to be too difficult to become the champion this time. Just as the 3 of them were discussing among themselves, a certain place suddenly began to tremor violently. A pillar of azure light soared into the sky as rich pill energy surged for over a kilometer. Countless people turned toward that place that had been overlooked this entire time. There was a black dragon with a blank expression, as well as a human man in a flowing white robe. A green spirit pill hovered between the man's hands, from which a terrifying spiritual aura erupted, as if he had broken through some kind of shackle and was ascending to a higher level. Mimi's lips parted slightly as her eyes widened. All of the spectators also turned to look at the man with astonishment upon seeing such a fearsome display. All of the contestants who knew what was going on were rooted to the spot in shock. Even the members of the roasting trio were dumbstruck. The woman in the black robe turned toward that direction, and her smile slowly faded. Su Xiaolan's jade dress danced in the wind as a smile appeared on her face. And Lin, you really are? You never forget to surprise me, no matter where you are? In the elders' seating area, the 10 elders stood up at almost the same time, their faces filled with disbelief. One of the elders exclaimed in shock. This is no longer something that can be described as merely being at the pinnacle of the 4th grade. The refinement process is perfect, the fusion process is perfect, and the pill condensation process is perfect. This is a fourth-grade spirit pill that has been perfected in all of the steps. The flaming white figure shook its head. No, the pill fragrance has reached over a kilometer, and the pillar of light has already appeared. This can no longer be referred to as a fourth-grade spirit pill. This is a third-grade spirit pill. Gasp! All of the elders drew a sharp intake of breath. He had given the human man the pill recipe for a fourth-grade spirit pill, but he had refined the fourth-grade spirit pill into a third-grade spirit pill and upgraded the spirit pill. This kid was terrifying to this extent. Chapter 841. The vermilion bird flames in Lin's eyes began to disappear. His body swayed slightly, and he felt as if he was about to collapse. Secretly, letting the flaming vermilion bird guide him was too much of a burden on his consciousness. It was best not to use this kind of power often. But, come to think of it, he seemed to have refined an incredible thing, and Lin held the pill in his hand. Even though he wasn't very knowledgeable, he could sense that it was extraordinary just by sensing the energy within it. The reactions of the people around him proved this even more. He had already become the focus of everyone's attention. His small figure seemed to be growing infinitely taller in the midst of all the chaos on the Dao Plaza. And Lin touched the pill in his hand and turned his gaze toward Gray. This pill seems to have been refined quite well, but I don't really understand the standards of you lowly commoners. Can this pill enter the top 5? The dazed Gray shuddered and said in a trembling voice, I want Thump. His legs turned to jelly and he knelt to the ground. Big boss, I was wrong. Please stop showing off, okay? And Lin, Su Xiaolan, all the other competitors, it had to be said that the pill and Lin had refined had truly stunned the entire audience. Most of the competitors were in despair. They really didn't know how they could win against an opponent who could directly refine a spirit pill to the next level. And Lin had scored a F** King 101 points on the test paper out of 100. Soon, it was time for the second round of the competition. Among the 90 competitors, a total of 7 had refined fourth-grade pills. Oh no, it should be said that 6 had refined fourth-grade pills. And Lin had refined third-grade pills. An elder brought out a piece of paper and began to read. Next, I will announce the top 5 pill refinement prodigies. First place in Lin. The entire audience erupted into cheers again. He was fully deserving of his first place. Among the group of living beings, Uncle Dongfang really didn't know what kind of expression to wear. It was one thing for Su Xiaolan to be better than him, but why was it that Lin, who looked like a noob in alchemy, was also better than him? Was there something wrong with this world? Xiaoza was even more dumbfounded. Master's alchemy skills were actually this awesome? How unfathomable. He suddenly had a brainstorm and recalled the black dragon that stood proudly at the peak of all the stars. Could it be that Master's power had begun to awaken? Second place, Su Xiaolan. The audience cheered again. Su Xiaolan had proven herself with her strength. She had originally wanted to enter the top 5, and this result seemed pretty good. Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Banyu began to get nervous. There were still 3 spots left. Third place, Fanny. The elder continued. The hundreds of thousands of spectators fell silent, and the contestants widened their eyes. Fanny? Which Fanny is this? The name sounds so familiar. Gasp. It can't be the Pill Sage's daughter, Fanny, right? At this moment, the woman in the black robe raised her head and took off her black robe. Whoosh! A perfect woman who looked as if she had been constructed from golden crystals appeared before everyone's eyes. Her feet were hovering in the air. She wore a white puffy dress that revealed her long and dazzling golden legs. Her long hair was like a golden waterfall that cascaded down to her ankles. The woman's face was exquisite and perfect, and her eyes were pure and lively. She clearly had the appearance of a girl next door, but the pressure that she inadvertently exuded made other creatures shrink back at the sight of her. Whether it was the contestants or the onlookers, they all stared blankly at the woman. Holy F***ck. It really is that Fanny. The Pill Sage's daughter, Fanny. Didn't she go to the Holy Palace of Life to further her studies? Why would she appear here? Maybe she's graduated? Gasp. She's only 25 years old. She's graduating at such a young age. Doesn't that make her the youngest graduate of the Holy Palace of Life? My God, is Fanny such a freak? All of the living beings stared at the woman in the Dao Plaza with expressions of shock and admiration. The Holy Palace of Life was the highest institution for the younger generation of the opposite shore realm. It was similar to the celestial courts, the United University of Cultivation, except that one had to reach a certain level of power in order to graduate. Some prodigies might not be able to graduate even after several hundred years. However, Fanny had graduated at only 25 years old. This speed had broken the record for the youngest graduate of the Holy Palace of Life. Fanny was not smug in the slightest. Instead, she turned toward Lin, and her voice was ethereal and ethereal. Lin, don't get ahead of yourself. I haven't done my best yet. I'm going to reclaim the glory that belongs to me in the final competition. Lin blinked as he looked at the woman before him. He couldn't shake the feeling that she was very similar to the dragon princess that Xiao Zhe had created with the Golden Realm essence crystals. He couldn't help but turn toward Xiao Zhe. Sure enough, he discovered that Xiao Zhe's attention was completely focused on Fanny, and there was an expression of infatuation and admiration on his face. Perhaps this was love at first sight. As Xiao Zhe's master, a certain emotion began to well up in his heart. And Lin looked at Fanny with a smile. Very good, Fanny, right? Seeing as you're so confident, why don't we make a bet? Fanny asked cautiously, what bet? If I become the final champion, you have to promise me one thing. If you become the final champion, then I'll also promise you one thing. And Lin smiled. Oh, interesting. Fanny's eyes seemed to be ablaze with passion. As a peerless prodigy, how could she back down at a time like this? All right, I promise. Fanny nodded. The prerequisite is that it's within my power and that it doesn't violate any morals. And Lin smiled. That's fine. Let's swear Dao Heart vows first. Su Xiaolan stood off to the side and looked at Lin and Fanny with a confused expression. What the hell was going on now? Don't play yourself to death. After making the vow, Lin looked at Xiao Zhe with mixed emotions in his heart. Little Xiao, I didn't have anything good to give you in the past, and I'm feeling very ashamed. How about I give you a big one this time and give you a wife? The top 3 had already been determined. Rika, the Black Sword Lord, and Banyu became extremely nervous. 4th place, Banyu. 5th place, Julia. The elder continued to announce. Banyu finally heaved a sigh of relief before turning to the 2 people beside her with a sympathetic expression. Boom! Rika and the Black Sword Lord were rooted to the spot as if they had been struck by lightning. How is this possible? I wanted to become a champion, but I can't even make it in the top 5 now. Rika's eyes had lost all of their luster as she spoke in a daze. This disparity was far too great, and she felt as if she had received a lethal psychological blow. Her body, which was constructed from blue liquid, suddenly became completely devoid of light, as if heaven and earth had lost all of its color. The Black Sword Lord howled with anguish. I don't want to live anymore. I'm going to commit seppuku. He pulled out the black longsword on his back as he spoke before stabbing it into his lower abdomen. Splat! Blood splattered through the air. The Black Sword Lord howled in agony. As a pill refinement master, he instinctively pulled out a few more regenerative spirit pills and swallowed them, which finally healed his wounds. Lin, where did this idiot come from? Hurry up and carry him away. Chapter 842. Rika and the Black Sword Lord's confidence had been dealt a fatal blow by the arrival of a bunch of dark horses. That's right. It would be fine if there was only one dark horse. With their strength, they could still fight for first place in the top 5. However, not only was Su Xiaolan a dark horse, even Lin, Julia, and Fanny were dark horses. 4 dark horses had almost all of the top 5 spots. How the F***CK was this even possible? They were all prodigies in pill refinement, but they couldn't even make it into the top 5. It was impossible for them to face this kind of disparity. Rika and the Black Sword Lord stood off to the side with dejected expressions, and no one knew what they were thinking. Gray finally felt a little more confident after seeing his cousin Julia make it into the top 5, but he didn't dare to flex in front of Lin anymore. Thinking back to how he had flexed in front of such a freakish pill refinement prodigy, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Mimi's eyes lit up. She was clearly a little excited to see so many powerful prodigies appear, and her voice became a little more passionate. Congratulations to Lin, Su Xiaolan, Fanny, Banyu, and Julia for making it into the finals. You will receive a 6th grade Immortal Pill coupon provided by the Pill Tower. Whoever becomes the champion of the finals will also receive an intermediate rank Immortal Tool, the 9-Spirit Cauldron of 8 Desolation. Now let's begin the finals. Her red dress fluttered in the wind, and her high heels floated through the air. A spell formation activated, and an intricate competition platform rose up from the center of the Dao Plaza. There were 5 seats on the platform, and it was as if 5 mighty figures were vying for supremacy. The 5 contestants made their way onto the platform, and they became the most dazzling beings on the Dao Plaza. Rika and the Black Sword Lord stared blankly at the 5 dazzling contestants on the platform, and their hearts were filled with disappointment and jealousy. Never would they have thought that they wouldn't even have the right to stand on the platform. Lin looked around at the hundreds of thousands of spectators, and even though he was used to seeing grand spectacles, he still felt a little strange. Being stared at by hundreds of thousands of humans was a completely different feeling than being stared at by hundreds of thousands of demons and monsters. Especially those demons and ghosts. They all looked at him with admiration and fervent gazes. Not only did he feel satisfied, but he also felt a little excited and excited. The final round is very simple. Everyone will compete to see who can refine a higher grade pill. Those of the same grade will compete to see who can refine a higher quality pill. Also, prepare your own materials. Rose winked at the contestants on the stage. The charming contestants on the stage were expressionless. They were already prepared for this kind of attitude from the Pill Tower, which alchemists at this level didn't have a pile of materials stored in their storage rings. Lin looked at the 3 competitors. Just by looking at their cultivation, he could tell that they were talented. Julia was at the Soul Formation Intermediate stage, Banyu was at the Soul Formation Initial stage, and Fanny was at the Soul Formation Final stage. After all, they were all less than 30 years old. Even in the United University of Cultivation, they would be the top students of their grade. Lin took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. There was still some pressure. The main thing was that he didn't know what Fanny would be able to achieve if she used her full strength on the top floor of the Rainbow Glazed Pill Pagoda. A golden figure placed its hands on the railing and looked down at the entire Pill City. All types of dazzling treasures shone through the air. The entire city was like a collection of dazzling jewels. It looked around at the bustling city, and a smile suddenly appeared on its face. Lin of the 4-9 Immortal Sect? You're the leader of a sect, but you're participating in a competition between juniors? Isn't that bullying? Not only are you bullying others, but you're also trying to bully my daughter on the Dao Plaza. Rose's voice sounded again. The time limit for the final round is 4 hours. Within this time limit, you can start again if you fail. I hereby announce the commencement of the final round. Duong. The final round began. Julia exhaled a frosty breath. Blue dragon flames burned within the pill cauldron. This type of flame was stable, and the essence of the ingredients wouldn't be incinerated by the high temperature. Lin was quite surprised that such a ferocious dragon could possess such flames. Gray wore a proud expression upon seeing this. Lin, your divine flame is indeed powerful, but my cousin's azure snow flames may not be inferior to yours. Lin couldn't be bothered to respond to Gray. At this moment, Banyu also sprang into action. The green moon behind her glowed with a scintillating light, and a burst of flames imbued with the power of the moon fell upon the pill refinement cauldron. This was also a very special type of flame, imbued with the power of true een and perfection. As expected, none of the finalists were pushovers. Fanny paused for a moment before glaring at Lin in a threatening manner. She then intertwined her fingers together to make a peculiar ancient seal. Boom! Golden crystalline flames appeared in the air, burning with scorching intensity. These flames were extremely explosive, and the crisp sound of crystals clashing erupted. At the same time, a burst of extremely powerful flame power proliferated outward, exuding boundless flame might. All of the spectators faltered upon seeing this before raucous cheers erupted. What Fanny displayed to everyone was also an extremely powerful divine flame. This was also a dark horse, one that could compete with Su Xiaolan and Enlin for the championship title. As expected of the Pill Sage's daughter. She's so young, but she already possesses all of the qualities that a top-rate pill refinement master should possess. Not only is this a blessing for the Pill Tower, it's also a blessing for Pill City. I'm sure a new Supreme Realm Pill Refinement Master will be born in the near future. The spectators discussed spiritedly among themselves, and the atmosphere was extremely lively. As competitors, Julia and Ban Yu were instantly struck by a sense of immense pressure. Rika and the Black Sword Lord looked at each other to see the bitterness on each other's faces. They thought that they stood at the pinnacle of pill refinement among the younger generation, but never would they have thought that there were already other living beings standing at an even higher level looking down on them. Fanny looked at Enlin and Su Xiaolan with a smug smile. You're not the only ones who possess divine flames. My divine flame is called the Golden Soul Crystal Flame, and it can bestow upon pills a higher level of spirituality and divinity. It's one of the most suitable divine flames for pill refinement. Enlin and Su Xiaolan looked at Fanny in silence. Instead of the shock that Fanny was anticipating, there was a hint of inexplicable calmness on their faces. Fanny was a little displeased. What? Are you looking down on my divine flame? You have to realize that my divine flame is more suitable for pill refinement than yours. Enlin waved his hands. That's not it. You've misunderstood. We're not looking down on your divine flame. Your divine flame is indeed very powerful among all the other divine flames. Su Xiaolan interjected, but I have a holy flame. Everyone fell silent in that instant. Fanny opened her mouth with difficulty. What? Su Xiaolan waved a hand through the air, and a ball of white flames appeared in the air. This was a ball of pure yang flames, and all living beings would be struck by a sense of inferiority at the sight of it. All of the spectators, including Fanny, had their eyes focused on the ball of flames at this moment. How beautiful, how pure the flame was. Was this a divine flame? No, this was a flame of a higher level. Everyone seemed to have realized something in that instant, and some of them were even trembling with excitement. After all, they had just witnessed a legendary flame. My God, what am I seeing? This is a holy flame. So this is a holy flame? To think that I would be able to witness someone unleashing a holy flame in my lifetime. I can die with no regrets now. Fanny stared blankly at the flame in Su Xiaolan's hand, and her heart had been dealt a heavy blow. How? How could you possess a flame like this? Sorry to interrupt, but I actually know how to use holy flames as well. A voice suddenly sounded. Fanny turned toward Enlin, the man who had made a bet with her. An extremely pure ball of flames appeared before him, exuding boundless holy might. This was also a holy flame. Fanny's body trembled in fear, and she stood rooted to the spot. She opened her mouth, but was unable to utter a single word. Fake. This is fake, right? It was one thing for one person to possess a holy flame, but both of them had holy flames? Wasn't this bullying? Chapter 843. Fanny was already scared as Sage Astra's class, let alone all of the other competitors. All of them trembled uncontrollably at the sight of the holy flames in the hands of the two humans. The more important a living being was to pill refinement, the more they would realize just how precious flames were. A holy flame was a godlike existence to them. Be big boss. Gray's legs almost gave out from under Enlin again and again, and he almost knelt down again. Enlin couldn't stop showing off, and he was always able to blind him time and time again. Even all of the elders stood up to stare at the holy flames in Enlin and Su Xiaolan's hands with scorching light in their eyes. This power of pure yang flames. It's holy flames. It really is holy flames. An elder formed from white flames trembled in shock. I thought they were just pieces of unpolished jade, but they're actually the most dazzling pearls. I can't afford to teach them. A four-armed ape with white fur all over its body shook its head and sighed. I'm afraid only the pill sage has the right to teach such exceptional prodigies. A twisted crimson spider chimed in. They could still fight for the position of master for the more exceptional students. However, if the students had limitless potential and were about as powerful as they were, then they really wouldn't have the face to continue taking disciples. They at least had that much self-awareness. The appearance of the two holy flames at the same time created a massive stir on the Dao Plaza. All of the living beings were astonished, which was immediately followed by heated discussions. The competitors hadn't even begun pill refinement, but they were already overshadowed by Su Xiaolan and Enlin. It was as if the two of them were the stars of the show, while everyone else was nothing more than green grass. Fanny's body trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't take this anymore. This pill refinement competition was supposed to be the grandest ceremony she had ever held since her return. It was also the first historic moment when she became the new star pill refinement master. Even the intermediate rank immortal tool, the nine-spirit cauldron, was a gift prepared especially for her by her father. This was supposed to be a competition that she was going to win. Why did these two suddenly appear? Don't celebrate too early. Let's see who's more powerful in pill refinement. Fanny tried her best to calm herself down as she spoke. That's right. So what if her flames were more powerful than hers? As long as her pill refinement skills were superior to theirs, she could still turn the tables and forcefully take the championship. She no longer looked at the two of them and turned her gaze to her own alchemy furnace. With a wave of her hand, a flame burst out and began to burn. Medicinal ingredients began to be thrown in one by one. Enlin and Su Xiaolan didn't waste any more time and started their own alchemy. Needless to say, they all knew that as long as they could take down Fanny, the championship would definitely belong to them. As for whether it was Enlin or Su Xiaolan, didn't make a difference. Enlin stroked his chin as he pondered. Fanny hadn't used her divine flame in the last round, yet she was still able to secure third place. This time, it was very likely that she would refine a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the 4th grade or even the 3rd grade. If he wanted to beat Fanny, then he would have to refine a grade 1 spirit pill. That's right. He was going to completely crush Fanny. He didn't want to play it safe, only to be beaten by Fanny's explosive burst technique. He was going to make it difficult for Fanny to catch up to him, even if she were to use her explosive burst technique. This was the true despair. A white vermilion bird flashed through Enlin's eyes as his pill refinement skills and knowledge began to fuse into his body, as if he had turned on a hack. Can you do it? Enlin asked in his mind. The vermilion bird's consciousness replied, yes, but after this, your energy will be completely depleted, and your consciousness will also be very feeble. You'll need some time to recuperate. Enlin looked at Fanny, who was completely focused on pill refinement, and he gritted his teeth. For his disciples' happiness, he was going to give it his all. Boom! The holy vermilion bird flame was tossed into the alchemy furnace and began to burn brightly. When refining high-rank pills, using high-rank flames was more advantageous. Enlin's hands flew through the air, and each and every one of his movements, including the drawing of the flames and the extraction of medicinal power, were all peerlessly exquisite and entrancing to the onlookers. Even though most of the spectators were amateurs, they could tell from his smooth and fluid movements that he was an extremely proficient pill refinement master. As for the amateurs, such as Mimi and the 10 Pill Tower Elders, all of them were completely entranced, as if they were enjoying a spectacular artistic performance. It was too perfect, too stunning. It could be said that Enlin had attracted over half of the spectators' attention, while the rest of the attention was focused on Su Xiaolan and Fanny. As for Julia and Banyu, what a joke! No one was looking at them anymore. Even Gray was staring at Enlin with a nervous expression. It thought back to when it had been bragging to Enlin. At the time, it had thought that Enlin was also bragging. Wasn't it hilarious for him to say that the powerful didn't understand the world of the weak? But now, it looked like it was the only one who was bragging. Everyone else was really bad *SS. Atop the seven-colored glazed pagoda, an imposing figure shimmering with golden light stood proudly at the top of the pagoda. He stared down at the figure down below, and his expression changed drastically. That's strange. What rank is Enlin at? There are many signs that he's at the flame mastery stage, but his pill refinement knowledge and flame refinement techniques seem to be extremely profound. Furthermore, he seems to be restricted by some sort of restriction and is unable to unleash his full potential. I really can't see through him, as expected of the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect. At this moment, the pill refinement competition had already reached its climax. 5 peculiar flames lit up the night sky. Julia and Ban, you were both pill refinement masters at the pinnacle of the spirit gathering stage, and both of them had chosen to refine third-grade pills. After all, if they chose to refine fourth-grade pills, there was no way they could become the champion. There was no punishment for losing anyway, so they might as well give it their all. And then their pills all exploded. Boom, boom. Energy exploded, and all of the essence within the pills were reduced to nothingness. In the instant of their failure, expressions of pain and regret appeared on their faces. Anyone who blew up a third-grade spirit pill would feel heartache. Julia and Banyu both heaved heavy sighs. So they really couldn't do it? They really were no match for those 3 supremely talented prodigies. Perhaps this was just reality. When they turned to look at the other 3 people, all of them were given a massive fright, and they were rooted to the spot with incredulity etched on their faces. This can't be real, they're all. Banyu was astonished. Julia took a deep breath before exhaling a mouthful of cold air. They're all refining first-grade spirit pills? That's right. Not only was Enlin refining first-grade spirit pills, even the pills refined by Su Xiaolan and Fanny were all first-grade spirit pills. Enlin was truly feeling the pressure this time. It was quite clear that Fanny was working even harder than he had anticipated. Terrifying energy fluctuations erupted from Fanny's body as countless golden soul crystal flames enshrouded her body, allowing her to fuse as one with the flames in order to maximize her control over the flames in her body. This was the Pill Sage's unique pill refinement mystic technique, division body refinement flame technique. By rapidly burning up the energy within one's body could fuse with the flames for a certain period of time, thereby achieving one with the flames. At this moment, Fanny was the golden soul crystal flames, and the golden soul crystal flames were Fanny. Fanny's entire body was engulfed in golden flames, and countless golden crystalline flames shimmered in the dark night, creating a spectacular spectacle, as if she were the queen of flames descending upon the world. And Lin, I won't lose to you this time. I'm going to be the champion. Chapter 844. All 3 of them were refining first-grade spirit pills. This time, it was a true showdown between the pinnacle of 3 parties. The hundreds of thousands of spectators became extremely excited, and the atmosphere reached its peak. The divine flame and holy flame have both appeared. What a feast for the eyes. This is so exciting. I never thought that I would be able to see a contestant refine a first-grade spirit pill in the Pill Tower's new talent cup, which is held once every 10 years. The last time a first-grade spirit pill was successfully refined was by one of the 8 supreme stage cultivators of our Pill Tower, Enlightened Spiritwood. That was over 1,000 years ago. At that time, he was only a lone cultivator. But now, it's a 3-way battle. Such an intense and shocking competition is unprecedented. Go, Goddess Fanny, defeat those 2 human pill refinement masters. Some of the spectators couldn't help but yell. Even though this was a free and open pill city, there were many natives living in the opposite shore realm, and they were more inclined to support Fanny. It was exactly because of this that over half of the spectators were cheering for Fanny. Of course, Fanny couldn't hear these cheers. She had already used a spell technique to block out any outside interference. Refining pills in such a noisy environment? Was this a joke? And Lin didn't really care. He wasn't the one refining the pill anyway. He was hacking, and the one refining the pill was the flaming vermilion bird in his sea of vital energy. The flaming vermilion bird was very proficient in pill refinement. After looking at the pill recipe, its hands danced through the air like dancing flowers, and the holy flame within the cauldron leaped about as it pleased, stripping away the essence layer by layer. And Lin glanced at Fanny to find that her pill refinement skills weren't inferior to his by much. No, he had to widen the gap. Otherwise, it would be too unstable. And Lin's pill refinement rank was the greatest limitation of the Vermilion Bird's pill refinement rank. His techniques and control over flames were almost perfect, but he couldn't forcibly elevate his pill refinement rank, so it was impossible for him to refine immortal pills. What method? What method could he use to improve the quality of a spirit pill? Boom! At this moment, the golden soul crystal flame exploded, and its unique flame power attached itself to the spirit pill, making the spirit pill's energy fluctuations even more powerful. And Lin came to a sudden realization. That's right, flames could improve the quality of a spirit pill. What he was using now was already the highest level of flame. However, who made the rule that only one type of flame could be used? A weaker flame might have the opposite effect, but a divine flame was an extremely high-grade flame. If the pill was infused with the power of the divine fire, its quality would definitely rise to a whole new level. If it were anyone else, controlling two types of flames at the same time would be unthinkable. Alchemy was not a battle. It required extremely precise control over the flames, without the slightest bit of negligence or distraction. And Lin definitely couldn't do it, but the flaming vermilion bird could. Will it work? He asked in his mind. No problem, but you'll be even more exhausted after this. The vermilion bird's consciousness transmitted over. So what if he was a little tired? For his disciples' happiness, and Lin suddenly raised his head and a confident look appeared on his face. Let's do it. The grade 1 spirit pill he refined was called the 7-star Chi Vein pill. It was refined from 49 different types of high-grade spirit herbs. It had the effect of unblocking meridians, purifying the body, and expanding the sea of Qi. Now, let's show these foolish people the real show of fire. He snapped his fingers. Boom! A ball of purple flames imbued with specks of starlight appeared in the air, exuding a bright and scorching light. It was particularly beautiful in the dark of the night. My God, look at him, Lin. How did he create another divine flame? Is he going to control two types of flames at the same time? They knew that Lin possessed a divine flame, so they weren't all that surprised. However, when the demonic star flame began to flow into the pill cauldron, they couldn't sit still any longer. Holy F asterisk CK. He's using two types of flames at the same time, and Lin has gone insane. Pill refinement with two types of flames is extremely difficult. Even many pill tower elders can't do it, but Lin dares to do it? I don't believe that such a young man can use such a method. Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly among themselves, the scene that unfolded on the competition platform once again left them dumbstruck. Snap! And Lin snapped his fingers again. Boom! A ball of crimson flames appeared in the air, exuding crimson light and heat, painting the entire night sky red. The flames of the mutant blood phoenix had appeared. The flames burned endlessly, and the power of life and slaughter surged in the void. This scene was witnessed by the audience and elders, and it truly caused an uproar. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? That's a divine flame, right? There's no doubt about it. This is a divine flame. Gasp. And Lin has another type of divine flame? My God, I feel like I've changed beyond recognition. I'm so jealous. The dream of countless pill refinement masters was to possess a single type of divine flame, but Lin had pulled out two at once. Fanny was right beside Lin, so she naturally caught sight of Lin's divine flame as well. Her body shuddered involuntarily, and for the first time, she felt like possessing a divine flame wasn't something to be proud of. Gray's legs were trembling, and for some reason, he was struck by the urge to kneel down. Why wasn't he going to stop? Just how much longer was Lin going to show off? Pada! Just when everyone had recovered from their shock with great difficulty, another crisp snap of a finger resounded, and Lin snapped his fingers again. Boom! A blue flame that was as blue as water appeared in the night sky. It gave everyone a sense of tranquility, yet scorching heat. No one dared to underestimate this flame, as it was another type of divine flame. This was Lin's setting moon flame. Fanny's face paled as she grumbled internally. Does your divine flame cost nothing? If you have the balls, then get me another type of divine flame. Pada! There was another crisp snap of the fingers. Boom! The flames were as dazzling as the sun, and they lit up the entire night sky, as if the sun had risen from this realm of eternal night. Fanny, all of the spectators, all of the Pill Tower elders, are these really all divine flames? I'm not dreaming, am I? Banyu asked with incredulity on her face. Julia silently left the competition platform. I'm done. There's no way to compete anymore. This isn't Lin's one-man show. I'm not going to be an oaf. Cousin. Gray didn't know what to say as he watched Julia depart from the platform. Right at this moment, another clear and melodious sound resounded. All of the spectators turned toward the competition platform again. Their instincts told them that another type of divine flame was about to appear. Why isn't there any reaction this time? A living being asked. A black shadow monster widened its green eyes and exclaimed in surprise. Something's not right. Look at the ear. Isn't it a little twisted? This is a very special type of flame. A Pill Tower elder's eyes narrowed. It's invisible and colorless, yet it can incinerate all things. What a pure flame power. Another Pill Tower elder continued. Without a doubt, this is also a very special kind of divine flame. More and more spectators began to recognize Lin's flames. They were already numb from the shock of Lin's flames. At this moment, there was another crisp snap of a finger. Lin held the divine flame bead in his hand, and a golden flaming dragon soared into the sky. This was a divine flame imbued with a high-rank immortal tool. That's right, this was a new type of divine flame. Pill Tower Elder, Fanny, all of the spectators, one divine flame after another flew out of Lin's hand as if they were free, inflicting heavy psychological trauma on the hearts of all of the spectators. Admiration, envy, jealousy, hatred, all types of emotions were present. The Holy Vermilion Flame, Mutant Blood Phoenix Flame, Great Holy Flame, Setting Moon Flame, Demonic Star Flame, Heavenly Void Flame, and Golden Dragon Flame appear at the same time, blinding countless spectators. Gray's trembling legs were unable to support his massive body any longer, and he knelt down again. How could you be so exceptional? Gray's words echoed the words of countless spectators. And Lin was way too exceptional. A faint smile appeared on Lin's face as he looked at the flames. All 7 types of flames have been gathered. I can summon the Divine Dragon now.